Black Rock Shooter. I barely even know her. Whether you've heard of it or not, BRS is a surprisingly popular niche, both inside Japan and over in the West. If you haven't heard of it, it's essentially a twin-tailed girl in a bra and shorts, holding and using what some may affectionately refer to as a big fucking gun. Now, sometimes her appearance varies a bit, but this particular picture holds some significance that I'll touch on in a sec. This girl is called Black Rock Shooter, or Mato, or Empress, or Stella, or Elishka. Somehow these are all Black Rock Shooter. In the world of all these different Black Rocks, there's more characters starring alongside her, such as Deadmaster or Strength. But then you'd ask, who are all these different incarnations? How do they correlate at all? And then you'd end up going down a rabbit hole and you find the original art pieces, music videos, manga, anime, and then 2 weeks later you're drinking cups of vinegar and watching Puchita Rock Shooter pursue the mystery of the sexy planet. Happens to everyone. Every legend has humble beginnings. So ignore the sexy planet for a second, and let's start with the sometimes metaphorical, sometimes quite literal, conception of Black Rock Shooter. 2007. What happened in 2007? Wrong kind of shooter. When you search for Black Rock Shooter, the earliest result generally leads to one image. This is BRS in her first iteration ever. Told you it was important. Posted to Pixiv on December 26, 2007 by a Japanese artist named Huke. And she may just become a little bit of a late Christmas present for said artist. At first, it really was this simple. BRS started out as Huke's OC, at the time drawn simply as a girl with a gun. The natural evolution of things you like, typically ends with anime girls involved, though it's also probably worth mentioning that Huke at the time was experimenting with his art to see what attracted the most attention online, and he ended up seeing a lot of success from characters he painted with black colors. That explains the black, but what about the rock shooter? Well, the rock shooter. Black Rock Shooter's cannon is called the rock cannon. It fires 20 rocks a second, so about that fast. Black Rock Shooter isn't the only notable painting from around this time though. The next image Huke posted is called Black Devil Girl, a character with small horns and a green and black design. Kinda reminds you of a certain deceased expert, doesn't it? And this really must have been the golden age of OCs for Huke, since he drew another OC not long after. This one named and titled Black Gold Saw, a character we see more of in later works. Black Gold Saw is another demon-esque character with longer horns and a red color scheme, and probably by artist taste features a flaming eye. Remind you of anyone? But to loop back on characters we see in later works, here's Huke's Deadmaster, and instead of describing her features, I will leave you with the fact that one of the tags for this character is titled, "Please Step on Me." Ironically though, for a series so big, there's not a lot more to say here. Huke's art pieces are wonderfully drawn and in a distinct style that many future appearances follow or reference heavily. Attractive or not though, simple art pieces aren't really going to kickstart decades of anime, manga, and games, right? To answer that, let's take 1 second and rewind to the image I absolutely did not skip over just to make this transition. Because Huke actually drew a couple more works of Black Rock Shooter before Deadmaster, a lot of them being a part of If I had a nickel for each time I bring up something I've shown in the intro, Black Rock Shooter, a music video composed by Supercell's Ryo. At the time, June 13, 2008, Ryo was a rising songwriter. You may recognize his works such as Melt or The World Is Mine, which were popular Vocaloid songs at the time. One day, inspired by Huke's Black Rock Shooter illustration, he contacted Huke himself. Lo and behold, a song produced by Ryo, sung by Hatsune Miku, and an animated video with art from Huke. Interpretations of the song are where Black Rock Shooter gets its story foundations, this being the first instance of BRS having some deeper meaning beyond her imagery. The themes of the song are where most of the later adaptations get their inspiration from, at least in part. It's a song, so of course there's going to be different ways to interpret the lyrics, but here's my interpretation, so take it with a grain of salt. Ryo's song talks about falling into despair, being in despair, and finding hope in the light of it. First off, the song doesn't feel written from Black Rock Shooter's perspective. It sounds more like at least between two characters. Even then, I prefer to think that Black Rock Shooter is a type of symbolism, not an actual person. Many of the lyrics surround feelings like sadness, loneliness, and fear, and who is called out to in moments of hopelessness? Black Rock Shooter. Black Rock Shooter is who or what inspires hope, to wipe your tears and carry on. She is what lights your fire. I'm sure there's more to glean from the song, but as you'll soon come to find, most things Black Rock Shooter are very vague and leave a lot up to interpretation. Regardless of the meaning, people really liked it. The popularity of the song quickly shot up to match that of Ryo's other pieces, and importantly for BRS, it spread the name. Ryo's song, as mentioned, accompanies an MV drawn by Huke. Text is great, but have you ever heard of music videos? Supposedly, Huke wanted to help make such a detailed MV because he believed they were a crucial part of musical success at that time. More so, he looked at other works that had high-effort videos and resolved to not break the trend. Definitely a great decision. Many Vocaloid songs just started to have music videos back then, and if you look at them today, pretty much every big release has one. Not to mention, it's a really damn good way to get people interested in your work. How do you get people to look at Black Rock Shooter more? Draw more Black Rock Shooter. Unparalleled genius. And I'll tell you what, some damn good things come from that much attention. What good things? What about getting your character a whole animated project and soundtrack? I'd call that pretty good. In 2009, out of pretty much nowhere, a pilot edition Black Rock Shooter original video animation was announced. The edition shipped with discs for the animation as well as some other exclusives like a new recording of Black Rock Shooter's song. This animation would be done by Studio Ordet, a studio headed by the ex-director of Lucky Star. He got fired. Shortly following the announcement, in September of the same year, the pilot was released and shipped. Now, I don't own the CD, so I can't show you any of the pilot, however, it's mostly the same parts as the OVA itself, so you aren't missing too much. Oh look, the non-pilot version. Ordet's animated Black Rock Shooter is a story that follows Mato Kuroi, Yomi Takanashi, and you. Not you. Before I start talking about it, spoilers, obviously. Also, I implore you to watch it yourself. The OVA more than holds up, even over a decade later. Black Rock Shooter opens with a fight between Guess Who and Black Gold Saw. After BRS gets her first Londoner's greeting, the scene fades to the real world. This is Kuroi Mato, a young girl who's attending high school for the first time today, and she seems very excited about it. She darts around her house, and I can't help but mention how absolutely beautiful the art and animation in this is. Anyway, unlike other high school girls, Mato planned ahead and isn't actually late. Therefore, unlike the girl out of a shoujo manga, she actually gets to eat her bread in peace. Less than late, actually. Mato runs ahead before school because there was a place she wanted to visit. I mean, almost missing the train isn't the same as missing the train. Arriving at school, Mato sees a girl getting out of a car. Wonder who that could be. Mato steals a glance at the girl both at the entrance and in her classroom. She checks the seating list for the girl's name and, in her infinite high schooler wisdom, reads her name as Kotori Asobi. The characters here stand for something like little, bird, and play, if read as Mato did. Third time's the charm, Mato finds Kotori Asobi in the hallway, approaching her with the riz of a socially anxious person. Apparently, Kotori Asobi moved here recently and she seems willing enough to talk with Mato. Rather, she seems to quite enjoy their interactions. What follows is some scenes of Mato and Yomi around school, Yomi deciding to join the volleyball club, some dates inside and outside school, smiles all around. For some reason though, the anime keeps weaving these scenes of BRS. It shows her running around pillars and stones before ending up at a castle. Back to the other two though, they're really good friends as some would say. Mato even buys a phone strap on their shopping trip, gifting it to her while showing Yomi her favorite place in town, the place she visited right before the first day of school. Yomi and Mato are shown hanging out more and more as the year progresses, at festivals, movies, studying at home together, and wishing at a shrine together. Hey, I know that one, that's strength! In their gym classes, Mato does a little spraining her ankle. She's helped out by the super team manager. Hey, I know that one. That's you! After their class swaps in their second year, Yomi and Mato are split apart in separate classes. Of course, they still hang out after class, but the split makes it a bit harder. Naturally, this ends up with Mato inadvertently spending more time with her club members, like you, when she can't play with Yomi. More and more as Mato and Yu hang out together, we slowly see Yomi feel left out. Unable to join the conversation as the three walk home, unable to join them in the classroom either. In the other world, BRS and Deadmaster go at it, breaking floors in each other's ankles like they're Mato in the gym. Speaking of, when Mato doesn't see Yomi in the gym room, she asks one of the volleyball members. Turns out, Yomi had something very important to do. Important enough to not tell Mato out of all people. While walking home the same day, Mato mulls over sending her a text. However, the message is blank all the way until night, assumedly not knowing whether it would be right to even text her. But if Mato can approach Yomi in the hallway to stutter about her height, she can send a message to her best friend. Unfortunately, she gets no response from Yomi. Next morning, on the way to school, there's still no sign of Yomi, not at their usual meeting spot, nor on their shared train. Good news though, Mato gets a buzz on her phone. Bad news, it's only her mother. Worse news, her mother tells her that Yomi is missing and that the police are waiting at their house. With Mato's tears flowing, so too does the show itself flow back into Blackrock Shooter's world. Smashing through chains into a coliseum with Deadmaster waiting, their fight winds to a point where when Deadmaster gets her scythe broken, her next best weapon is BDSM, raising chains from the arena and using them to restrain BRS. With rumors of Yomi floating around, Yu approaches a saddened Mato in order to comfort her, noticing that Mato might think it's her own fault for Yomi's disappearance. The next morning, Mato gets a message from none other than Yomi, though it's blank. Yomi doesn't even answer a phone call. With a sudden idea, Mato rushes out of the house and speed bikes her way to that special place she shared with Yomi. Things aren't all that easy. All that's found is the phone strap that Mato gave to Yomi before. But I said it before, didn't I? Third time's the charm. And in this case, a charm is far stronger than a chain. After BRS saves Deadmaster, it's now Mato that wakes up, with someone that looks just like her floating around. The other woman asks about wanting to save Yomi as the charm flashes brighter. You should know this girl well by now. Okay, I'll cut the dramatic tone now. You probably have two main questions. Are Mato and Yomi gay for each other, and what the fuck just happened? First, possibly. To the second, you might actually understand the premise a bit already. For the most part, the alternate world where you see Blackrock Shooter and Deadmaster is a reflection of Mato's real world. More accurately, Blackrock Shooter is the incarnation of Mato's spirit. So too is Deadmaster an incarnation of Yomi's. The alternate world where the two reside is a literal interpretation of the real world. That's the simplest way to think of and explain it. In the beginning, before Yomi and Mato met, Blackrock Shooter casually strolls around the alternate world like a roaming NPC. Immediately after meeting Yomi, BRS finds herself at the edge of a cliff, the scenery below being that of a massive castle with long winding roads around it. Taken as symbolism, this is the physical buildings of Mato's and Yomi's friendship. And to complement this line of thought, what does BRS do to start her journey into the castle? She jumps right into the unknown abyss below her. Now, how did Mato start her journey with Yomi? She approached her suddenly without much plan and became friends that way. Effectively, this is the real-world equivalent of jumping into the unknown abyss. Wandering the outsides of the castle, the point at which BRS finally meets Deadmaster happens precisely after Yomi joins the volleyball club. Pretty much the first time we see her do something for herself, without Mato's influence. Though, obviously, Mato fully supports Yomi in this. This exact action is contrasted by BRS offering her hand to Deadmaster. Mato is supporting Yomi the best she can, and yet for some reason, the relationship between them begins to strain. Now, I fully understand you can counter this idea by asking, why does BRS fight Deadmaster right after Yomi joins the club, even though Mato and Yomi seem perfectly happy for almost a year in the real world after she joins? First, the definition of interpretation. Secondly, I use the word strain very intentionally. Fighting in any capacity probably isn't a good sign, but it is an alternate world. For all we know, having sex in the bathroom of a Taco Bell is just standard fare for greeting there. In other words, BRS and Deadmaster don't actually fight that intensely. For the most part, BRS doesn't even attack back, save for a few stray shots. And right after BRS's first time attacking back, we get a scene of strength, just standing there. The second scene of strength, however, shows her jumping off a cliff, and the scene directly after that is Mato spraining her ankle and being helped by Yu. So strength is shown precisely when a third party gets indirectly involved in their relationship. As well as that, not long after the sprain, the two find themselves in split classrooms. Following this, Yu and Mato are seen together a lot more, and it's the first signs of Yomi feeling jealous, until the eventual scene where Yomi sees the two talking in the classroom and goes missing immediately after. Remember when I said the castle signified Mato and Yomi's relationship? Yet again, right after Yomi goes missing, the following scene is of the alternate world's castle crumbling, right until Deadmaster attacks BRS, completely destroying the floor. Hell, if you want to take symbolism further, they even have shots of Blackrock Shooter's legs. Problems do start at the ankle, that's what my grandfather always told me. Once the floor caves in, BRS actually starts hitting back and destroying Deadmaster's summons, before Deadmaster runs away into the Colosseum. After she chases Deadmaster down, the fight eventually pauses when BRS is caught by her chains. After Mato, in the real world, bikes to the place where she finds her phone strap, BRS finds the power to break the chains, pushing Deadmaster to the edge, literally and figuratively. Right then, Deadmaster falls, again figuratively and literally, her castle crumbling to pieces, and the one left to save is instead Yomi. As for the scene where Mato and Blackrock Shooter meet, your guess is as good as mine. Some of my interpretations are far-fetched, but I couldn't even think of anything with enough evidence to make a comment about this scene. If you're wondering, yes, there is a post-credits, but it doesn't really provide any additional answers. And it's not like there's more to reference either. For the next couple years, this is the ending of Blackrock Shooter. For the next 2 years, this story concept would be left in the air until the eventual full anime series in 2012. There were Blackrock releases before 2012, though, they just didn't follow the same storyline. So, while you're left to wonder the meaning of the series itself, Blackrock Shooter isn't stopping for you, because the train of BRS media was full steam ahead at this point. Okay guys, hear me out. Alien cannibals? Yeah, the Blackrock game was weird. Blackrock Shooter, the game, released on August 25th, 2011, in tandem with Blackrock Shooter, the game, the manga, which released its first volume a little over 2 weeks before the game. Both the game and the manga feature Blackrock Shooter as the only returning character. No Deadmaster or Strength, though lookalikes there may be. Produced by Image Epoch, a semi-well-known studio, or rather was. A lot of things happened with Image Epoch, like a missing persons case and a bunch of weird circumstances leading to their bankruptcy, but that's beyond the scope of this video. I'll link a couple of interesting videos on Image Epoch if you'd like to hear more about it though. Blackrock Shooter, the game, takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where military forces fight sentient alien hammers. Yeah, get used to it, that won't be the weirdest thing. The game starts when a section of said military comes up to a truck, shoots it angrily, and out pops BRS. That's how children are made. Pretty much a living weapon, the military states themselves as her allies, and they command BRS to do what they could never hope to. Hit a damn bullet. So they lead BRS as she storms through a broken city, clearing out hostile aliens and destroying generators to make an escape route for them. While Blackrock Shooter does some Blackrock shooting, I'm going to use the opportunity to discuss the actual gameplay. The game is described as an action JRPG, but since that doesn't really help with understanding it, in combat you have 3 options: shoot, block, and dodge. The main features that tie these together is a heat gauge. Heat is a percent from 1 to 100 that reduces passively. Shooting fires a number of projectiles at your crosshair and generates heat. The number of shots fired is tied to how low your heat is. Lower means better. Dodging moves BRS to the side, basically allowing slides left and right between 2 points, at the cost of generating heat. Blocking reduces damage taken, but heat will no longer lower for however long you block. Besides heat and the core 3 actions, there are skills, which are just various actions on relatively long cooldowns, and items that can be used freely in and out of battle as long as you have enough. This is what they meant by action JRPG, a Frankenstein's monster of game systems that typically aren't seen together. If it plays well though, I'll get back to that later. After BRS and the military men destroy the generator, an alien drill suddenly appears, killing 2 of the men while BRS stands idle. Because of her memory loss, as well as being told actively that those that attack you are your enemies, since she wasn't attacked, she didn't view the enemy as an alien. Her inaction gets her blamed for the 2's deaths, but one of the group stands up for her, Rothcall. After the custody trial for BRS is finished, she runs through the city once again to open up an escape path through the Golden Gate Bridge. Unfortunately, some of the military unplugged the damn door. No, I'm not kidding. After some swift IT support, what is this, a Blackrock station? Oh, it's the cables. BRS eventually gets the gate open and the rest of the military starts moving, but something in the distance catches her eye. A mysterious woman shows up.
So good and tasty?
Curious about BRS being a gray, and after a short asphyxiation session, which is, funnily enough, not going to be the last time BRS gets choked in the series. After a forced fight, she screams a bit and BRS wins out by using the sword you just conjured from nowhere. I really don't know where this came from.
グレイには我々の生体アーマメント技術が使われている。しかし、ストックたちの不安定な技術のせいで、能力は個体によって異なる。油断するとミーのようになるぞ。
わけがわからない。総督はなぜ技術供与なんてしたのかしら。ザハ様、見つめないでください。失言です。取り消してレブします。
賢明だな。
さて、俺の行くか。この星のストックたちには随分楽しませてもらったからな。最後のあがきくらいは見届けてやらないと。
もしあれがストックどもが言うところのホワイトなら絶対に殺すな。
分かっている。
With the probably on a sex offender registry woman dealt with, everyone returns to a small base setup. Now that there's some downtime, Rothcall gets BRS to introduce herself to the other members and help them out around the base.
で、俺はロスカル。よろしく。もともとは情報処理系の研究者だけど、一通りの戦闘訓練は受けている。何でもそこそこできるからすっかり便利屋だ。
広く浅く中途半端なやつだ。
戦闘バカよりいいよ。
Once BRS gets inside to know the men well enough for them to raise death flags, she's given a new mission, Piggy Ninja.
ピギー忍者って
単なる作戦名だ。
変なの。
Fitted with enough smoke bombs to replicate the weed clouds seen inside Californian barbershops and a new black trike, BRS is sent off to Manhattan to create a distraction. Black Trike's section has some different combat mechanics. In practice though, they just boil down to press left or right when about to run into an enemy, so once BRS arrives in Manhattan, she sets some flares around and fends off some of the aliens attracted to them. With the distraction of BRS and her flares, the military progresses through previously dangerous territory, and just conveniently, they secure a fighter jet specifically tuned for BRS. So, both to get picked up by the jet and investigate a strange energy reading on the roof of a tall building, she briefly treats the laws of gravity as a suggestion and makes her way to the top.
お前がミーを倒したグレイだな。
At the peak of the building, BRS runs into an alien that calls himself Mazuma. Mazuma, much like me, is curious about BRS being a Grey. In his own words, a Grey is a type of clone created by the humans, with help from the alien general. They're also something that the general is apparently personally interested in. However, it seems the general views these Greys as failures.
何やってるんだお嬢さん。
マズマと話している。
マズマ？
More importantly for the moment, this Mazuma guy is obsessed with the movie Big Snipe.
ビッグスナイプという映画は見たか？ネットトランシーが狙撃者を演じたんだ。
To the point where he neblated his favorite actor.
我慢ができなくて探し出してネブレイドした。邪魔なんだよ。
What exactly Nebblade means, though, may be a problem for later. First, we got shots to block and a pop quiz to take.
仲間の敵は私の敵。
なるほどね。話の途中だったけど、続きはいいのか？
どうせ忘れるみたいだから。
よし、試してみよう。俺の名前は覚えているか？
マズマ。
では、ビッグスナイプの主演は？
ネットトランシー。
ほう、俺が知っているグレイとは違うな。正体を確かめる。ホワイトなら殺さない。ただのグレイなら、あるいはそれ以外の何かなら、俺がネブレイドしてやる。
ネブレイド。わからないけど。なんだか嫌。
さて、お前はどっちかな？
I talked about the combat system earlier, but I think Mazuma's fight is really where it shows its teeth. Here you really feel how awkward the systems are in an extended fight. First off, dodging is not always the answer, especially with how bad the dodge actually is. Like I said before, dodging moves you side to side, and that is all it does, no iframes. That, by itself, is manageable, but mixed with the game's questionable attack telegraphs makes it extremely difficult to actually discern what you need to do when you need to do it. Mazuma here moonwalks like he's lagging before suddenly flashing white and snapping into attack animations. Moving side to side often doesn't guarantee you'll dodge an attack. If your timing is just a little bit off, enemies can attack the position in between where Blackrock dodges. This makes it not just undodgeable, but extremely hard to even see, as they'll be positioned mostly outside of the field in which you're allowed to move your view. Blocking is downright necessary to mitigate many attacks. Mazuma's Big Snipe in particular is something you will almost always block. Dodging doesn't move you away in time. A lot of the game, especially later, boils down to playing as well as you can until you need to spam healing items. Skill issue? Possibly. But to reiterate, I think the systems can work, and that they aren't some critical flaw that ruins the game. More accurately, I mean that the systems lack polish. Because of the unusual genre mix Image Epoch took with this game, I really think it comes down to them being the unfortunate pioneers to systems that just aren't quite there yet. But with all that trouble out of the way, we barrel our way into Russia in our new jet because the crew picked up a distress signal near Moscow. With Rothkal's promise of canned cherries and his similar excitement to pop a cherry,
女が助けを求めている。わかるよな、ロスコル。人類の未来はその女にかかってる。はあ、神様。
BRS and Rothkal land their ship at the edge of Moscow. At Blackrock's advice, Rothkal leaves her alone to save the female survivor, and instead flies back to help the other men who got caught up in some trouble. Directing BRS's mission remotely, Operation Tally-Ho is a tally-go. As expected, BRS makes short work of the aliens blocking her path. By might of their new armory upgrades, the military also seems to have an easy time, besides a few radio jammers preventing Rothkal from properly directing BRS. Without Rothkal, BRS decides to first re-establish comms by destroying the jammers. On her way, she runs into this Red Rabbit drone, which seems to be the source of the interference. So after a short skirmish, the drone attempts to escape. However, the drone leaves a trail of what is either blood or oil, either of which it seems to have way too much of for its size. Nevertheless, BRS follows in close pursuit, only really slowed by the stray aliens. Eventually, the drone succumbs to the forces of fire superiority, or rock superiority, I guess, re-establishing comms between BRS and the military. With a pained-sounding Rothkal once again directing BRS, she follows directions to the source of the broadcast. I mean, he himself said he's fine, so that could never mean anything bad. During her mission, though, Rothkal slows down on his transmissions, with each call sounding more and more panicked, before losing contact completely. Losing contact with Rothkal keeps BRS without directions, so without any plan, she simply waits for her next command. Eventually, she does get a Roth call, but not from Rothkal.
こちらマリオン、
聞こえるか？状況は？
女はまだ見つからない。それにロスコルの誘導がなくなった。
聞いてくれ。時間がなさそうだ。まだ若い頃、この戦争が始まる前に私はノアプロジェクトに参加していた。プロジェクトの目的は滅びゆく生き物たちをデータ化して保存することだった。昔ホッキョクグマという動物がいた。地上で最も強く、しかし最も孤独な生き物だ。我々はそのデータを手に入れようとしたのだ。最後の一頭、最後のチャンスだった。データ採取作業は順調に進んでいた。しかし我々、いや、私はミスを犯していた。間もなく作業が終わるという時、あいつは目を覚ました。市長、のんきに昔話かよ。奴ら機内に入ってくる気だ。早く貨物室へ。おい、姉ちゃん。
私？
女とロスコルを頼んだぞ。責任持ってくっつけろと言いてえが、お前さんには無理だろうな。とにかく二人を守ってくれ。あとは奴らが考えるだろうよ。くそ、来やがった。
With that abrupt ending, we're reconnected to Rothkal and back onto Operation Tally-Ho. 3 minutes later, and 6 boxes followed, BRS finds a small log cabin, and her only order received is to protect the woman inside before Rothkal goes dark again. The only things BRS finds in the cabin, though, is a repeating message from a Nana Gray, and pictures of a supposed Dr. Gibson. Besides that, though, a low rumbling noise begins to approach from outside. BRS looks up to find the Draco in flames, quickly falling to the ground. Maybe, as it turns out, the Draco wasn't as heavily armed as anticipated. Helpless to stop the inevitable, BRS can only rush to the site of the crash, hoping for the best. As you would expect though, little but dead bodies remain for most of the military. But we do have a new face around. The aliens around the crash site here are Shizu the top and Carly the bottom. Shizu seems aware of the difference between aliens manipulating their own companions and humans or stalks holding them in their memory. She encourages BRS to spend her last moments with a dying Phobos. With Marian,
最後の話し相手が君とはな。若いクローン娘と何を話せばいいのやら。
北極熊。
そうだったな。どこまで話した？
北極熊が目を覚ました。
ああ、最後の一頭。氷の宮殿の王。北極熊は私の弾丸で地上から姿を消した。動植物を絶滅に追いやるのは多くの場合人間だ。
and with Rothkal.
いや、無線の女は？
いない。
参ったな。ほんと参った。とにかく探さなくちゃ。ハゲ高め。それにしてもなんだろうな、この感じ。絶対絶命だってのに負ける気がしない。君と一緒だからってだけじゃない。心の底から力が湧いてくるんだ。きっと人間は困難に立ち向かうように作られているんだよな。なんだ
Infuriated at Rothkal's death to an alien named Nafe, Blackrock turns her cannon on Shizu and Carly. After all, my enemy's allies are my enemy, right? With Shizu on her knees, kinky, she begs Nafe to save her,
助けて。ナフェ。
which she promptly declines by making Shizu do her best impression of a Palestinian hospital while Nafe plays the drone. Lost in the sauce, or rather the snow, BRS honors Rothkal by doing what he failed to, popping some cherries.
おいしい。人間はみんな死んだ。グレイが残った。いや、ホワイトなのかもしれない。
After passing out, BRS wakes up in the cabin she entered before, to a woman standing at her bedside.
ナナ、そうよ。
This is Nana Gray, the woman on the radio, and someone who BRS seems to have met long before now. During some sisterly lap pillow bonding, Nana makes plans to go meet the two's mother. Not exactly a mother though, both Nana and BRS are clones, conceived in artificial wombs to the genetics of Sing Love, and made by a man named Dr. Gibson. Even though both the sisters are clones, Nana is a Gray, an imperfect copy. That's why she calls herself Nana, after the Japanese pronunciation of the number 7, Nana. Because she was unloved by Dr. Gibson and not given a name, she calls herself just by a number. Unlike Nana though, BRS was loved by Gibson, and he even gave her a name,
私
Stella.
の名前はステラなのかも。よかったわね。
After a refitting of BRS's outfit that Nana conveniently had lying around, Stella and Nana fly toward a UEF base near the forest of Fuji. I think you get the drill by now. Stella fights aliens while Nana stands on the sidelines and helps direct her. However, Nana gets increasingly frustrated when she can't seem to remember the path. Being an imperfect copy, Nana finds herself forgetting many of her memories, even very recent ones. When Stella offers help, Nana rejects it, likely finding Stella the last person she wants to pity her. Even though she does all this, it's clear she does still care for Stella, at least in some capacity, since she constantly radios BRS telling her not to overdo it or to be cautious. Probably wanting some alone time, Nana proposes the two briefly split up while searching for the base.
いらない。
I don't know why the person with directional challenges worse than my own sibling is going off alone, but yeah, sure. Nevertheless, after some more Blackrock shooting, we suddenly hear Nana in danger over the radio. In a hurry, Stella Blackrock shoots her way. No, actually, we're just running past them. We save Nana, she lies as easily as she breathes, and as Nana suddenly remembers the direction of the base, the two move onward. One more walk through the forest of broken dreams reveals to the sisters a door larger than my car. Inside the facility, the two interact with a gamer setup called the Gibson system. Once Stella scans into the system, it reports foreign data inside of her that cannot be removed. When Nana tries, however, it only gives a generic error. To Nana, this confirms that Stella was built to be a greater clone, that Gibson only gave his love to Stella. Nana laments about how she believes Sing Love exists now only as an algorithm in the Gibson system. Turns out, Nana heard this from Shizu before we ran into either of them. A little sudden, but do you remember Mii's death? Because we have company.
だけの現実だけどな。静から何を聞かされたのかは知らない。でも真実はそうじゃない。シングラブはクローンたちを待っている。
An alien named Lilio appears, challenging Nana's story and telling her that the sister's mother is very much alive and still waiting for them to meet. Having Lilio take us to her would be the easiest solution, but turns out Karma's a bitch. Having nebulated me, the licky girl from earlier, taking on her memories and regrets, Loverboy Lilio is here to settle a debt on behalf of her.
消すことができるんだ。分かってる。
I'll take the opportunity to, if you haven't already guessed its meaning, explain what Nebblade means. Nebblade is an action the aliens often take, and as I joked about earlier, it's effectively cannibalism. And it's more than just dinner. Nebblading also gives the aliens the memories of the ones they nebblated, apparently even if they're dead while being eaten. That's the reason why Mazuma talks so much about Big Snipe, and incidentally the reason why Lilio here is so angry. After Stella defeated me, she was wheeled off and chowed down on by Lilio, who's taking up the fighting where she left off. Or maybe just the dying part. Should I mention Lilio is also a surprisingly good actor? If this bunker is playing Pearl Harbor, then Lilio must be the bomb. Lilio suicide bombs himself to ensure his and Mi's memories will never be taken via nebulating, though Stella wakes up unharmed from this bombing, and Nana, well, she's more hurt mentally than physically, with her last hopes for a good life being crushed. With more of Stella's memories returning though, she comforts Nana by telling her just how much Gibson actually loved her, and all the clone siblings. Nana might not fully believe all that, but at the very least, she seems to have one last thing she wants to do in this world.
私が願っていた世界のことそうねあなたには無理今笑ったニカってうんよかった思い出せてよかった忘れる前に伝えられて騙したこと許してナナごめんねナナ
After her betrayal, Nana takes the jet and flies off, leaving Stella alone without a way to follow her. Unless you count the black trike.
フォボスモーリスマリオンロスコルギブソンシングラブナナステラナナとステラ大丈夫忘れない
Following the tracks of Nana into an alien mothership, this time it's Stella making a move on her own will.
ステラナナどこ
Through bits of Stella's contact with Nana, she mutters things about delivering the perfect gray so that she can live in peace. Of course, it wouldn't be Nana if she wasn't in mortal danger every level, so our old friend Nafe shows up to forcefully capture Nana, refusing to tell us where she's taking her. Nafe leaves waves of aliens to weaken Stella as she cuts, smashes, and shoots her way into the depths of the mothership. I suppose Nana's lap pillow is just that inspiring.
歌なんかやめてそれお気に入りなの総督はこの曲から名前を取ったんだよシングラブって昔の歌とにかく総督は自分のコピーが欲しかったんだってどうしてそれはネブレードに決まってるじゃない
While Stella cuts her way through Nafe's bots, Nana goes to meet the alien general, offering herself up as a perfect gray, as a white.
あなたが総督ね
違うしかし案内はできる
私は特別なグレイいえホワイトよ
As you might tell by this point though, the white, a perfect copy, lies elsewhere.
あの子あんたの身代わりになろうってつもりかなバカみたい総督を騙せるはずないじゃない邪魔するな私あんたのことが大嫌いだって
Nafe falls easily, spared by Stella but not the general. Despite desperate pleas, her defeat gets her taken and nebulated by the general. Crunch. The second in command, Zaha, is the last obstacle blocking Stella.
逃げなさい遠くへずっと遠くへ言うことを聞いてできないよだって私たちは困難に立ち向かうようにできてるんだから
And so, up the elevator, onto the moon, and toward the terrace. Of course, the one waiting for us there is Zaha. Sorry, Zaha first.
よく来た最後のグレイ。いや、ホワイトよ。
ナナは連れて帰る。
それは難しいな。見たところそれは比較的初期のグレイ。これまでどのように生きながらえてきたのか、総督も興味をお持ちだろう。総督に前菜をお届けしなさい。
Zaha might be strong, his mech suit may be stronger, but nothing beats enough healing items.
なるほど。多少の下ごしらえが必要だな。手合わせ願おうか。
Finally, at the Terrace of the Moon, original of all the Greys, Sing Love.
Nanaのと同じ。姉さんたちの。ついに来たな、ホワイトよ。待ちわびたぞ。
With a quick chat and a formal Londoner's greeting, final stage, final fight. At the end of the world, white versus black.
違う。素晴らしい。合わせ鏡。これこそ私が望んだゲーム。違う。よくぞここまでたわわに育った。見えるか、フィッシュ。フル。さあ、私たちを始めよう。靴は見えるか、フィッシュ。フル。素晴らしい。名残惜しいが、そろそろチェックメイトだ。ザ・グレイトフル3ウェイシュート。エンデュランス。行くよ、ホワイト。その力、その姿、その瞳。これが私の望んだゲーム。さすがホワイト。どちらが残ろうと 問題はない。どちらも私だ。ああ、楽しかった。残念ね。
Ooh boy, this story was a lot. Blackrock's shooter likes to leave a lot up to interpretation. If you take this all at face value, it was essentially just an alien wanting to see what happened if she gains her own memories by eating a clone. And the other aliens just kind of throw themselves at BRS. I tried to make the game sound dramatic, but it's pretty hard to suspend your disbelief. Honestly, I think the game is complemented by the manga a lot. Now, they aren't exactly the same story, but if you assume some parts of the manga are accurate in the game, way more of the story makes sense. To not repeat the whole story, let me give you the footnotes so you can fill in the blanks yourself. Me, the first alien you kill, the Licky Licky one, is actually the fiancé of Lilio. That's why Lilio was so furious with you, unlike in the game where he just kinda takes Mii's memories and decides he now wants you dead. Mazuma is just there because he likes destroying things. He literally never gets seen by Stella. He's stabbed in the back by Shizu before he big snipes Rothcall in front of Stella. Shizu also has some help from Nafe in order to kill Mazuma without getting caught. Shizu and her brother Carly are also in love with each other. Hey, don't ask me. Shizu betrayed Mazuma so that she could let the humans breed. Because the aliens neblade for food, literal cannibalism, to survive they need to eat humans. That's the reason they call humans stalks. Shizu and Carly want to survive together, but Sing Love is insistent on exterminating all humans. Therefore, to keep their stalks, Shizu plans to kill Sing Love. Shizu and Carly even go as far as to introduce themselves and work with the military, helping train Stella so that she might be able to match Sing Love. But well, Shizu, Carly, and the military are made an example of while Stella is away. When Nana saves Stella, she puts herself into a machine that will inject memories of Sing Love into her, making her a true white. She laments to herself that she was abused while part of a military force, all while being unloved by Gibson in comparison to the love that Stella received. Sing Love and Gibson are effectively the Grey's parents, since Sing Love was basically in love. But has Sing Love decided they would find a substitute to neblading so that they could peacefully coexist with humans, Gibson cut her off, blowing both of them up with a nuclear bomb so that Sing Love wouldn't neblade the Grey clones. But like, alien? Pretty damn stupid for a scientist. After that, Lilio breaks in to fight Stella once her memories of Sing Love are injected, seeking revenge for Mii. But when Stella apologizes and refuses to fight back, the soul of Mii inside Lilio finds Stella funny, and so he gives up. Sing Love begins charging the Grateful Sun Ray to destroy Earth, so Stella prepares to confront her, all to protect Nana, who is going to stay behind. But tsundere as she is, a memory of Gibson flashes in her mind, and she ascends to the moon beside Stella. Nafe blocks the two, unable to retaliate against Sing Love, and therefore stuck doing her bidding. Stella spares Nafe, who must take tsundere classes from Nana, because she then stays behind to sacrifice herself in order for the two to survive a rupture on the spaceship. Nana, shortly after, takes a page out of Nafe's book, and sends Stella back to Earth in a pod alone. Lilio saves Stella and helps her get back up to the moon, placing the rest of his hopes in her as he then blows himself up along with the entire Grateful Sun Ray. Confronting Sing Love, Stella gets her Blackrock ass kicked, but out of her determination to save Nana, nothing can stop her. No, it's Nana. As she is consumed by hatred, the memory of Rothcall stops her from losing herself in the artificial memories of Sing Love. And thus, it's time to settle the game. After White Rock Shooter gets her shit blackrocked, memories of why she loved Gibson resurface at her end. And even though Sing Love doesn't imitate Nana or Nafe by sacrificing herself, she did leave a little bit of a present for Stella. Oh right, New Game Plus. There's not a ton in New Game Plus beyond a bit of extra dialogue, but with the power of a school outfit and a rematch against White Rock Shooter,
残念ね。
小鳥飛ぶのは青の空。
2012, and we're still rolling on hot tracks. Assumedly not long after the OVA aired, Studio Ordet and Sanzigen would begin work on a full-length anime. I say assumedly because Internet Archive being under attack seems to have broken my bookmark source, and I no longer remember where I found Ordet's production statement. Fuck you, legal shenanigans. Let's level for a second. This section would be several hours long if I tried to cover every single detail in the anime. And if you knew which generation I'm a part of, you would know that I don't have the attention span for that. That's all to say, there is a wonderful, very in-depth video essay by a creator named Vizum-kun. There's a lot to go over in this anime, and I kind of want to keep this section short, so if you want a lot of detail, 3 hours worth of it, go look at their video. I should also point out I watched Vizum-kun's video after watching and writing the script for this anime, so the interpretations I put in this section are still entirely my own. And with that said, right, remember during the OVA where I talked about Kotori Asobi, the little bird and play? Well, now we have Mato talking about the little bird's play, a book she likes. Wordplay, that's how I play. Opposed to the OVA though, Mato has a little bit more trouble getting Miss Kotori Asobi, Yomi, to warm up to her. Instead, her starting buff is already being good friends with you. The little bird helps them hit it off, and Yomi invites Mato to her house for some fun. Not that kind of fun. Though there's a little blondie that lives with Yomi, it seems. Enter Kagari. Don't enter her, she's still underage. Yomi quickly starts to emulate the look of those who have seen my browser history once Kagari sees Mato. Kagari makes a great first impression though. She offers the rotten colors of some sweets to Mato, while simultaneously offering the bright and sweet colors to Yomi. Macarons were only the first, because Kagari also prompts the three to play with some dolls. And of course, like a spiteful preschooler, she only allows Mato to play with the ugly doll. Beauty is subjective, kid, stay in your lane. More than before, she starts chanting for Mato to go home. So, back at her own home, it's curry be damned. Mato heads straight to her own bedroom to cry and question what Kagari's deal was for bullying her like that. And if you remember from earlier, the tears of one prompts the appearance of their other. A hooded BRS in the other world getting thrown around by that world's representation of... well, you can put 2 and 2 together, right? This girl is called Chariot. And as far as I find, this is her first appearance in the BRS cinematic universe. This time around, there's more than rocks to help out Mato though. A school counselor named Saya is there to hear out her worries and give her advice. Mato is told that it's normal to inadvertently make enemies, insinuating it might be worth it to pursue her interests even if it causes some conflict. The advice gets strange though. Saya speaks on some vague concept of somebody taking on Mato's pain, no matter how hard she gets hurt. Regardless, advice Mato takes, extending Yomi an invite to the festival coming up, because as Kotori Asobi, she should be able to fly free and see all sorts of colors, like the little bird from the book. Involving herself in Yomi's life mirrors the alternate world, and BRS gets her kill shot on Chariot interrupted by a certain chain sadist. But more on BDSM in a second. Chained in combat, but not life, Mato gets ghosted during the festival, waiting hours for a no-show Yomi, trudging back home feeling that pain that Saya said she wouldn't. Adults are always liars. At the center of this problem is, yep, still Kagari. Kagari is the one who made Yomi stay home, and she's making damn sure Yomi knows who her heart is bound to. Mato prefers vanilla at the moment though, so she's against the forceful isolation of Yomi from the others. Mato wants to free her colorful bird, to give Yomi her freedom back. Now, red flag as she is, Kagari was selfishly not quite happy with this idea. Actually, Kagari would find herself far happier if Yomi was her little e-kitten forever. So she puts the tripping in guilt tripping. Yomi can't get over her guilt from years ago when Kagari was hit by a car. As a child, Kagari seemed quite attached to Yomi. Go figure, right? When Yomi was moving homes, Kagari was hospitalized chasing after her, which led to Yomi then staying behind to, I guess, take responsibility. And I mean, fuck it, if it works once and she doesn't leave, why not go for the paraplegic special? Now, it seems Kagari was into baby play, since she was physically capable of walking the whole time, but rarely left her wheelchair. She played victim, keeping Yomi close and monopolizing her life. Simply put, Kagari doesn't feel like she could live without Yomi at this point. That's why she can't let Mato and Yomi live their Yuri life. And Chariot has a pretty good way of doing just that. Shortly after Deadmaster's first ambush, BRS sees the same heart carved on Yomi's chest. And actually, this came before Mato saw it, but also technically the same time that Mato saw it because Mato is seeing BRS in her dreams, but her dreams... The chains tying Yomi's heart down are quite literal, because the mark aside, Deadmaster is taken away and straight up tied to to a floating heart. BRS, reflecting Mato, wants to break her out of these chains, grant her freedom, but Chariot tries to stop her. A theme you may notice later on applies here as well, the concept of change. Yomi and Kagari didn't want to change. Kagari didn't even believe she could change, to not be Yomi's only puzzle piece. In that hospital room, Yomi finally accepts that they need to change. She stands up for herself and Kagari. This is very clearly symbolized by Deadmaster breaking the chains from the heart she's tied to.
なんだよ、ここから出よう。家に閉じこもらないで。ちゃんと学校に行こう。車椅子もやめよう。ふざけんな。紐メガネ。一人にはさせないから。もう引っ越ししたりしないよ。外に出たって。マトと友達になったって。絶対一人にはさせないから。ちゃんと向き合うから。高いから逃げないから。
Why is it so loud in there?
ここから一緒に。ダメだよ。出なくちゃダメなんだよ。ここから出なくちゃ。いつまでも私たち変わらない。
Fortunately, or unfortunately though, this is a show with a lot of drama, and if you know anything about drama, you know they love to keep issues knotted tightly together. Just as it feels like Yomi is finally getting through, BRS and Deadmaster watching as Chariot, as Kagari's world of delusions comes crashing down, Player 4 joins to crash the party, sending Deadmaster off and distracting BRS long enough to give Chariot her chance to strike, and BRS with her hands forced uploads a new video to LiveLeak that day. Without Chariot, it seems Kagari has no need for her world of delusions anymore. She has reached a transcended level of post-nut clarity. As Yomi and Mato finally get some respite in the post-Kagari era, they walk to school together and discuss the events following Kagari's hospital visit. No time for peace and quiet though. Best friend Yu is here, and we're late for a sports meeting. Turns out Mato's pretty good at ballin', good enough that the team cap decides to make her a substitute player for a summer tourney. Mato's only a sub though. Team cap Kohata is the real player here, and she's playing for a guy. I don't really care for middle school relationships though, so let's read an elementary school book instead. This book is the one that Mato and Yomi love so much. Its name is Kotori Tori Iroiro no Iro, or roughly translated, Little Bird, Many Colors. Yeah, it's a bit out of place, but this book is pretty important to the subtext of the show, so listen closely. In the book, Little Bird flies through worlds of color, taking on some of the colors into itself and becoming a beautiful rainbow bird. As it explores ever more colors though, the color of its rainbow becomes dull and muddied, until eventually...
涙の青。どんどん色が混じり合って、翼の色は濁っていって、やがて翼は黒になって、落ちる小鳥鳥。落ちて、どこまでも落ちて、小鳥鳥は死んでしまいました。
Yomi checks in on Mato real quick before the trip, but shuts off the call a little abruptly when Mato here won't stop talking about you. We get it, they were roommates. Cut to Mato practicing at the summer camp, struggling to build rapport with the other team members. But it's fine, she has the team manager. She has you. Suddenly, let me introduce you to some weird clone doll things. One of them being the alternate world representation of Kohata, the sports team leader. I'm great at arranging parties, so of course we also have Black Gold Saw hanging out here too, offering a hand to the Kohata doll. The rest of the dolls get a bit rowdy in the meantime, because they're just so excited to meet the real star of the show. And a bit of shooting later. Ah, it was a dream. Because only in a dream would I be good at organizing social events. Mato takes the chance to talk to Yu about these strange dreams, and Yu suggests that the Dream World BRS is the one that was supposed to take on Mato's pain for her. Once back at the school, Saya creepily looks at the school's student book. I swear this woman is one genre shift away from a certain registry. Regardless, the team captain seems to have played a bit too hard into her romance. Now Kohata's love letters are being exposed, and what would middle schoolers do if not laugh at a person being publicly embarrassed? Mato and Yu feel a little sad for Kohata's misfortune, and the two's tears being so in sync makes Yomi feel a little left out. Similarly to how she feels pretty much every time she sees Mato and Yu together. Soon, Kohata turns to Saya for advice, and the worst counselor ever strikes again. She sheds a tear for Kohata's misfortune, but something's a little off with the way she does it. It's like she rubs in how much people are making fun of her and how miserable the situation is, and she tells Kohata exactly how much it hurts. And you know how things go when mental states are involved. Blackrock Shooter likes to get involved alongside them. BRS murdering Miss Saw really didn't seem to strike gold with the Kohata doll, but nonetheless, BRS is a true saint, or she tries to be to make up for the Pope's death. Take my hand, little girl. We have candy. Whatever was in that candy was some of the good shit, because real-life Kohata falls and hurts her leg. Mato treats her, and then she has a psychotic breakdown, and just... I want what she's having. Saya, the worst counselor in Japan, strikes again. This time she really exemplifies Yomi's feelings of abandonment, and like she isn't needed anymore. Kagari finds some friends, Mato and Yu start to stay later for their club, and this leaves Yomi feeling a little more isolated than before. She starts lashing out that Kagari went to school without her. Kagari, surprised, seems to think that because Yomi was so used to taking care of her, now she needs some kind of proof that Kagari is independent, and that Yomi can be free of her. But Yomi is taking this more of a, I don't want you anymore kind of way. She stops leaving her house for a while, not even letting Kagari come in to see her, and telling Mato not to either. While all this drama is dramaing, there's more dramaing with Kohata and the fuckboy she liked. He came up to apologize for letting her notes be exposed, and to tell her he still liked her. I don't think confessing to the girl who you just got the whole school to make fun of is gonna do you well. Maybe he got a lucky break though, because Kohata seems to have conveniently forgotten the entire situation. Back at Yomi's house, she pouts in the corner, hoping someone will need her. Mato being her first choice, but that's, well, foiled. The phone message she was so excited about was just you. Tough luck. Yomi faces the opposite of Kagari's problem. Instead of chaining someone to her, she's desperately trying to chain herself to a relationship. And if she can't tie herself to Mato, then the only one left is Kagari. And as you've been seeing, this is the ultimate breakdown of Yomi. So please bear witness to the truly most emotional 34 seconds of your life. No, this was not edited. Inspiring stuff. Like I said, the roles are reversed here, and now Kagari is the one trying to break free from Yomi, which history may remind you doesn't do well for her mental state.
ちゃんとお返ししないと。お返ししないと。ヨミ、かがりのこと手放してくれないって思って。
And the worse the mental state, the more the Blackrock shooting. If Kohata's weird memories were concerning earlier, ooh boy, it's time for something much worse. This time around, Yomi is just fully broken, hair bracelets and all the creepy goth shit. But Yu has an inkling of who could be behind Yomi's "it's not just a phase mom" phase. It looks like Yu knows something more about Saya than she lets on. Maybe she should let on some more because Yu isn't the only one going to Saya that day. The second time in BRS media that choking occurs. Suddenly, there's a lot more people with their memories missing around school. Specifically, their memories of Yu's, well, existence. Let alone her schoolmates, those half-baked memories start to affect Mato too. She can barely remember the face of Yu during their childhood, even when they grew up together. But there's certainly something she remembers, and she's running right to it. Yu's house. Mato can just barely piece together the memories of where it should be, but where she remembers that house... maybe there's some early onset dementia. Yu does appear, however, and there's little time to waste as Yu tells Mato to steal her resolve and combines her consciousness with BRS. There's more to these alternate world reflections, and Mato wants to see that for herself. But I guess to kill your demons, first you have to kill yourself. Yu somehow puts Mato in the front row seat to watch BRS, not Blackrock shoot Deadmaster, but Blackrock stab her. And the middle school girl is not quite mentally ready to, be a murderer. Ow! One sneaky shot of Strength doing her best work as a cleanup crew for dead Yomi later. Alive Yomi wakes up, confused at the state of her room and hair. What's more, Yu is giving the vegetable Mato a lap pillow while whispering sweet nothings in her ear, while slapping her to balance out the S&M. That awakens her fetish, but not her body. Actually, there's a bit more slapping, because when Yu can't wake up Mato, who else to turn to than the worst school counselor ever? You see, almost every time we saw the alternate world, there was one of two things that remained constant. One of them was either these big red eyes observing the fights from afar, and if not that, there was always Black Gold Saw. Think about some character color palettes for a second, and you can make a damn good guess as to who Black Gold Saw reflects. By the same logic, you might also gather who Strength represents, but it's still not time to talk about her just yet. Regardless, Saya follows up her slap by explaining what's happening to Mato, and by extension, BRS. In brief, by exposing the real-world versions to stress beyond their limits, their reflections awaken to their true powers. It's what Saya did to Yomi to awaken Deadmaster, and it's likely why Kagari was a nigh-on completely different person after Chariot fell. One of the ways to resolve this issue is to just kill the real Mato. This time around though, Saya can't bring herself to choke Mato. Shame, it would have been the third time. If we aren't going to kill our problems, then Saya's next best solution is to see if she can call out for Mato through Gold Saw. But there's another crucial question that needs answering. After all, they always ask who is Black Gold Saw, but never why is Black Gold Saw. To answer that, let's clarify a relationship first. Saya and Yu. How do they know one another, and by extension, why does either of them know about the alternate world? Saya knows Yu because she happened to see her getting bullied one day and offered her a hand. Or, well, forced her a hand. Although Saya found out it wasn't just a one-time instance. There were many more pains in Yu's life, at home and school alike. And Saya couldn't just leave Yu alone through all this. Yu, though, doesn't act like she's that hurt, because she thinks that there's someone else taking on this pain for her. But even with that other person, streaks of misfortune don't end peacefully. Because of everything Yu's been through, Saya, in that moment, thought that Yu had been the one to set fire to her own house. Personal thoughts be damned, because Yu knew exactly what she was thinking too. Even after Saya gets her chance to apologize, Yu is on the money again. She's not suicidal yet, rather, she has something opposite to that in her mind. A way to have Saya protect her.
自分の名前を呼ぶの。
サヤ？
違う。もう一つの名前。
Who better to protect you than Saya and Saya 2?
ブラックゴールドソー。
In the present, Gold Saw isn't doing great on calling out Tomato nor fighting BRS, but that's fine, because to spell Yu, you need two U's. Strength. Or should I say, Yu. Even if you realized who Strength reflected early, the shenanigans are beginning again. Clear the board, it's time to redo introductions. This is the manager of the sports team, Mato's childhood friend, Strength. Conversely, this is Yu. If you look at the little history we just went through, you might think, man, Yu used to be way more depressed. She must have really changed after meeting Saya. Well, he hasn't. Yu changed. Entirely, actually. Black Gold Saw and Saya can't protect Yu from everything in her life. Bullying, absent parents, these are complex things to solve. Complex things that Yu didn't have the will to solve. Instead, she managed to communicate with her alternate self, with Strength. Where your reflection is said to take on your pain, Yu felt her pain and her suffering sat more in her real life than in her emotions. If Strength is here to fight for Yu, then she better take the hardest part. Life. Mato has been listening in on BRS and Strength fight, and she comes to a similar realization. BRS fights to protect Mato from the worst of her worries. But Mato, for one, doesn't like someone shouldering the world on her behalf. This seems like part of Strength's decision to show Mato that other world, to show her Blackrock shooter. However, there's more than just taking pain for Mato. Blackrock takes the pain away from everyone. Mato is an unusual kid. She doesn't like having worries, and she doesn't like other people having worries either. One way to help people process their emotions is, well, to kill their emotions. Similarly to what happened with Kagari. When Chariot died, her emotions suddenly did too. Mato is nice to a fault. She didn't want to butt heads with Kagari because she's nice. She wants to be friends with people because she's nice, but she's starting to think otherwise. Mato thinks that she's only nice because she doesn't want to be hurt. She doesn't want to hate because she doesn't want to be hated. For one reason or another, Mato views herself being nice as her running from her emotions. But as Strength jumps into the other world to get Mato out, it doesn't seem it's only Mato who's running. Good thing we know someone who's experienced with running from their emotions.
私には辛いことなんてないから、悩みなんてないから。たとえあったとしても本当はみんな優しいから、きっと分かり合えるから、そう思ってた。そう思いたかった。うじうじ悩む自分なんて嫌だった。人を嫌う心を持つ自分なんて。でもそれは自分が傷つきたくないから、自分が嫌われたくないから。小鳥鳥の絵本が小さな頃から好きだった。最初本当は気づいてた。私は逃げてるんだって。ただただ汚れていく小鳥鳥に憧れたんだ。きっと。どうしちゃったのまだ。私にとっての小鳥鳥。そう、ブラックロックシューター。私はいいんだよまだ。私の悪口を言う人なんて嫌いだよ。この子傷ついちゃうよ。痛いよ。ねえ、放っておけないでしょ。助けてくれるでしょ。ねえ。そうじゃない。はい。
While the other world isn't deep, Mato is unconscious in the real world, meaning that, yes, a middle school girl has been sleeping at a teacher's house for an entire day, one who's conveniently skipped that day. Those who aren't skipping ask if any of the class have seen her, and here we finally see Yomi again, after that. Yomi woke up dazed and confused in her room, wondering why her hair was in tatters, and she just attended school as normal. Who's this Kuroi Mato person? Must be a spam caller. Now, funnily enough, Mato wasn't a spam contact, and Yomi only begins to remember her upon hearing the teacher tell everyone that she's missing. And remembering Mato is painful. To Yomi, it hurts. Shifting back to reverse, Strength couldn't get Mato to free herself. So, as a last-ditch plan, even though Strength can't stand to kill Mato or you, she can kill herself. If this alternate world, this weird cube thing, is Strength's world, then her death should end Yu's feelings and push Yu and Mato back to the real world. Mato, however, is not a fan of Strength nor Yu dying. Before BRS can strike Yu, Mato recreates the Fukushima disaster localized entirely on BRS. With the radioactive fallout giving way, Mato wakes up outside of Strength's world. Objective complete. Just kidding. Today's menu is the world belonging to Blackrock Shooter. To Mato. Face to face with BRS, Mato, or should I say Blackrock Shooter, finally wants to be hurt. Mato is done running. She wants to be the little bird. She wants to see the many colors of the world. The blue of tears, the red of blood. But she's still Mato. She's not ready to fight back. Mato wants to feel the emotions that come with pain without being willing to hurt others. However, if the bird wants to see all the colors, if it wants to fly, Mato isn't the only one hurting. Kohata, Kagari, Yomi, all of them remember now what hurt them, but unlike previously, they're finally willing to accept being hurt. all the colors to which they flew, where they were hurt, and where they hurt. And the final color that little bird finds is that of when Mato is willing to hurt.
そうだ。私はいろんな色を見るために飛ぶ。飛ぶためには。あれは
私たちに感情はない。だけれど大切な。
傷ついてもいい。それでもつながりたい。ブラックロックシューター、私はあなたを傷つける。
After all is said and done, the colors combined in the mirror world is as one. There's still someone who needs to be taught to fly, though. You. With the last strength that strength has, it's one final piece of advice. You may not know how yet, but she can live in reality. She has Saya. She has Mato. The reflections may not have feelings of their own, but they still fight on behalf of their real selves. To protect them, to not see them cry, to give them strength. But now it's time for you to see what the real world has to offer, with her own strength. With one last goodbye, Mato's childhood friend is gone. To you, her strength. To Mato, instead to her as... So, as is tradition by this point, what the fuck just happened? Let me start by reiterating that Black Rock Shooter loves to tell its story through subtext. The bird and its colors are good examples of this. BRS tells us about this bird and how it flies through all these worlds, all the colors, except it doesn't tell us what the bird means. Part of the reason why this anime is so hard to discuss is because ultimately everything becomes interpretation. The immediate assumption is that the bird means something important for understanding our characters. What I find likely, or rather, my interpretation, is that the bird implies to our characters that good things come with bad things, or specifically for Mato, too much good eventually turns bad. At the very least, it's pretty clear that the girls are extraordinarily bad at handling bad things. See Yomi. You can also see why the show portrays Mato as too nice from this. In the real world, there's honestly not much wrong with how Mato acts, and that confused me for a while. It's not that Mato is wrong about being nice, but is going about being nice wrong. Black Rock Shooter is a story of adolescence, accepting pain as a means to grow. That's oversimplifying character nuance and this show's subtext inside the subtext, but it's not like this is an unpopular viewpoint to stop at. Many of the reviews for the 2012 anime essentially boil down to, it's confusing, but it's okay, I guess. A lot of reviews do outright dislike the show for being so secretive in its storytelling. To an extent, I have to agree. There's a balance to be struck between endless exposition and angsty read between the emotions and think for yourself. Too much exposition makes the viewers bored by not having to solve or anticipate anything. Too little causes the viewers to either get lost in the story or get more interested with their headcanon than what's actually happening. My opinion, it takes too long to achieve what the OVA did: youth, jealousy, friendship. The OVA had that with only two main characters in a fourth of the runtime. Kagari served her purpose, but far too much time was spent on her for her to be nigh on thrown aside in the last half of the episodes. Kohata was just straight up unnecessary, far too much attention put on her for her to be collateral damage to the main 4 girls. The show presents as if all these issues are interconnected with how they present the scene structure, but if you look at the actual timeline, you have the Kagari arc and then the Saya and Yu arc. The extra characters took more screen time than the value provided, is essentially my whole argument, and I think I've already demonstrated my more minor criticisms throughout the runtime of this section. Regardless though, you can't blame fans for looking so deeply into the show, because it sure had time to sit.
この世界で大人になっていく。
Past 2012, the initial boom of BRS had seemingly passed. Where there was a major media release almost every year before the anime, there was radio silence from 2012 onwards. Well, let's not spread misinformation on the internet. There were minor releases with BRS, art pieces, figurines, etc., but we're missing that big whopper. At least we were, until about 9 years later, and all the fans losing hope for any new BRS projects suddenly got an announcement through the official Twitter. September 15th, 2021. This is Dawnfall. With a visual drawn by Huke himself, we of course see our beloved Blackrock shooter, though she won't stay named BRS in this series. Notably, this piece has a lot of the same charms that we saw in the game. Broken city buildings, Black Trike, and the moon. Those are about, well, everything you see in the game, so it's no surprise that a lot of people assumed this would be a story focused on the game. There was already the game, the manga, so why not the game, the anime, right? If not an adaptation of the game, then surely a sequel. There were even 2 stars between the Black and Rock. Well, it was neither, or both. Dawnfall isn't a direct adaptation of the game, however it takes a lot of inspiration from it. I'm going to draw some comparisons, but know that Dawnfall is technically a standalone story. Now, while just watching the anime is fine, I think in this circumstance it gets confusing quickly without the background. Dawnfall throws a lot of sci-fi word vomit at the viewer. Imagine the game's Grays or Niblating, but like 20 times worse. Before Dawnfall, there was a short novel titled Before Dawn, detailing the events of what happens before Dawnfall, a prequel. It is fully accessible online for free, so I will summarize very, very briefly for the sake of time. It may sound like spoilers, but Before Dawn was released before the anime, and it is absolutely intended to be read before watching. Before Dawn mainly follows 2 characters, Camila and Luna Griffith. Camila is the prototype Prometheus unit. She was subject to the streets and cartel violence before being found by a Dr. Georges. She was then integrated into a terrorist group, such as life, I suppose. This doctor discovered that she had the Prometheus gene, and therefore the ability to control DNA computers, to interface with nanomachines. She also speaks Spanglish, which is apparently an important thing to note. Luna Griffith is a bit more important. She's the creator of Artemis and its avatar Lunatic. Artemis is an AI meant to help develop solutions to several problems. She also made it a more physical avatar by the name of Lunatic. Namely, Artemis was made to terraform Mars and the Moon for human life. For those purposes, it developed the orbital elevator. She also developed the Elysian Project, which in turn created the Peacemaker Force. They were made to suppress the same terrorist group Camila was a part of, as well as poverty and give the UN real authority from the terraforming? Before her ideals were realized, she was assassinated. However, in the case of her unfortunate death, she made sure that Artemis's protocols would be automatically removed. Artemis disabled its kill switch and was now allowed to self-evolve. It was, by all means, conscious. Artemis, now realized it was immortal, and also realized that humankind is kind of flawed. So it hacked the robots and drones of the world. With these drones, it tries to eradicate humankind, and simply wait however long it may take for new, improved humans to appear. To avoid human intervention, she moves her AI core to the moon, and so we begin the events of Dawnfall. The novel is relatively well written and pretty interesting, so again, check out the source material. Regardless, let's see Dawnfall for real this time. Ha! Double fake out. Before we start, TMS Anime keeps striking short sections of Dawnfall, oddly the ones with voiceover. After 2 smaller re-renders, I'm just gonna have to make this section a bit more, shall we say, creative. With that said, Dawnfall may be a bit less dramatic than the last entries. Sorry about that. Now let's actually see Dawnfall. FR. That's what the kids say. April 3rd, 2021. Dawnfall was animated by Beauty Animation Studios and their child CG branch. Same studio that, a year and a half ago, produced Season 2 of Quintessential Quintuplets. I do not see the resemblance either. We open to scenes of some vaguely familiar faces fighting a robot horde. Whatever they're talking about, it seems BRS was far from winning. We see flashes of her beat down under the heel of totally not White Rock Shooter. Ooh wow! Suki! Afterwards, our girl awakens with a memory. An urge to get to Lighthouse number 8. And not much else. The second time we see Blackrock naked. These kids scavenging run into some trouble. Luckily, one of them has a gun and the other a fucking frag grenade. This is Norito and his little sister Mia. You don't really need to remember their names, don't worry. Lucky for them, a weapon saves them. Not theirs, but rather a Hermethios weapon. And her black trike. During their escape, we learn that Black Trike actually knows our girl here. She is named Empress. Also a Hermethios weapon, or Blackrock Shooter, whichever they decide to call her really. The military picked up on Empress's reboot, and they're here to kidnap a girl for war. The Colonel here introduces himself and demands that Empress will be the one to destroy the orbital elevator. First though, she's demonstrating basic empathy and helping these kids home. Empress has a bunch of fans butting in. The Colonel won't leave her alone, and she meets a stronger fan on the way. Said fan is a bit yandere. Memories of her Oshi Empress are so painful. So solution 1 is kill the problem. Maybe it is a sequel after all. Records say Strength and Empress used to be allies. When the drone army rebelled, Hermethios units fought back. Something about this reminds her of that Lighthouse number 8, but Colonel decides that's a problem for when she's stronger, because first we get a business offer from a certain degenerate. Apparently, the Colonel doesn't know where his bases are, so our new friend Monica here offers us her help in finding these bases, all for the price of servicing Empress and her trike. For science. On the way, we raid a hospital for medicine, though it's infested by a swarm of robots. Empress is to distract them while the rest rush for crucial gather crucial meds. This doubles as an opportune time to have her prove she can Blackrock shoot well enough for the Colonel's mission, as well as, medicine. Yes, these robots look like untextured 3D models of a sperm cell, just don't think about it too hard. After enacting birth control, Empress connects back with the group, thrusting herself at a robot threatening to take Norito's purity. As she mounts the robot ready to shoot, drones dive in and blow all over her. Luckily, someone knows how to bring protection. Spurred on by a flashback of their past, Strength jumps in to save Empress before she steams off on her bike yet again. Hospital done and dusted, the kids return to their village, and our three camp out next to what you would be led to believe is the only tree in this world. The greenery doesn't last long, as soon roaring engines crest the hill. This is the Educational Institute, a group of maniacs headed by a living doll. Their leader, Smiley. Said institute is chasing down an escaping girl. Empress hops in to rescue her, pulling a slick 1,120-degree spin and landing on a car so hard that the guy disintegrates and the car explodes. Empress, or who am I kidding, Black Trike evades their pursuers and brings them to the group. We're told that the institute kidnaps girls like her and that many of her friends are still held in captivity. Currently, they're being transported in a train. We decided to help and all, but geez, this is boring. We're just sitting around on this train track, throwing this rock between our hands as we... Well, hand singular now. Suddenly, we take fire from a sniper. Brimstone smokes our cross and we retreat into cover. While we would just sit here in safety, Empress's arm is gonna need robot scrap to heal. As such, 2 birds and 1 stone. Scrap some robots and save those girls. While we stop the GTA 5 train, what exactly are we saving these girls from? Well, the Educational Institute, like I said, is headed by Smiley, the living doll. They follow Ken the Barbie, as he was chosen by the moon goddess, Lunatic. However, such a perfected individual as himself has yet to find a worthy woman. Similarly to Lunatic, Smiley is infatuated with the idea of furthering mankind, to make superior humans. He finds sacrificial girls to turn into Hermethios units, such that they are resilient enough to, serve as his very unwilling breeding partner. For some reason, this involves him fucking the girls to death before they are made into Hermethios units. The girls who can survive his bad dragon are supposedly worthy enough to become the Hermethios units. I have a lot to say about this story aspect, but that'll wait until the end. Currently, yes, it is as disgusting as you think it is, and they're underage. Anyway, speaking of Hermethios units, as the Institute tries to fight the group away from the train, Deadmaster fights their heads away from their torsos. Our sniper from earlier was, in fact, Deadmaster, looking a little different, yet yandere all the same. Deadmaster is not on our side yet, though the Institute is in her way of killing Empress, since, of course, Luckily, there are a few problems a foot to the gut can't solve. Deadmaster is punted away and bogged down by drones, so he sees the opportunity to overtake the prisoner cart where it's brought to a halt over this bridge. Defying the laws of reality, the train and bridge also seem to grow in size between these two scenes that are seconds apart because continuity is too expensive. Inside the cart are 4 caged sacrifices. This is the blonde girl, she's pretty cool. This is the blonde girl with a headband, she's a bitch. This is the black-haired girl, and this is the redhead. I'm glad we saved them. What horrible fates would have befallen them if they had stayed trapped in that kind of cage? You know, it's so dangerous and deadly in a cage like that, and you know, nothing bad happens outside. Well, can't save them all. With that mission over, Empress Monica and the Colonel finally head to that Peacekeeper base. With the might of a meaningless name drop, they may finally be able to take down the orbital elevator. To do so, however, our route will have to cross the Iron Ocean. Before our new convoy sets off, the Colonel's friend suddenly barges in to tell us about his life.
You know that guy, he's like my father figure. He had a wife and a daughter. Daughter was really good at baseball. Those 2 died to the Institute. Anyway.
During our convoy, we're ambushed yet again. Empress may not remember her fight with Artemis, but Deadmaster does. To battle a foe one cannot overcome, a vain endeavor. To shun such fruitless strife, we stay a simple course. Empress, instead of struggling, let's fucking kill ourselves. But Empress has things to live for, so Deadmaster will have to forcefully kill themselves. Recently though, getting blueballed is a part of her style. A jet unit suddenly dives in, bombing Deadmaster and the convoy alike. Every jet has a pilot. Unfortunately, this one is Charlotte, the Colonel's daughter. As fate would have it, the Institute didn't kill off his daughter all those years ago. They made her into a weapon. The convoy takes heavy losses from Charlotte. She's aiming to take Empress back to her master, Smiley, for that. But goddammit, Deadmaster loves that woman. She's throwing hands for her. For her. With the 2 Hermethios defeated on the ground, there's almost a sense of deja vu. Empress has been here before, faced against something insurmountable, but that doesn't make her give up. After all, she is Blackrock Shooter. Yeah, I can do the stupid name drops too. Disarmed, not literally this time, Charlotte runs and flies off in her jet, leaving no chance for the Colonel to save his daughter. Empress, having saved Deadmaster, has re-cemented her kindness. Empress doesn't intend to die soon. Though our path may be laced with death, that's where you excel, is it not? Deadmaster? And after Charlotte's bombing, that path is quite a bit lighter. We've got Deadmaster, so now it's time to check in on some old friends. Much like real life, they've become alcoholics. Strength tries to drink her memories of Empress and the battle against Artemis away, to varying levels of success. As Strength was catching some fresh air, a certain kid stumbled upon her, asking for help. Norito. His sister Mia was captured by the fucking clown division here. She fights them off with the strength of an abusive father, up until her mechanical arms are enveloped and melted by a substance called Arcana. With yet another character literally disarmed, her black trike swoops in to get her out, Norito following close behind. Without her arms, Strength becomes fragility, a lil lolly girl running around as Norito tries to catch up to her. For her to cope with the pain of that battle, of what happened when Empress failed to save them, it's painful, so lolly like booze. Norito suggests that they get moving to avoid the Institute, before less than a minute later, stopping Strength as she tries to leave. When the Institute arrives, we see Norito had double-cross Strength at some point, somewhere off-screen. But now, with them actually aiming for Strength, he pathetically hugs one of the members, shouting for Strength to escape. Like, she even can at this point. Well, I guess she can. Resummoning her arms, she cracks the mountain and disappears, the Institute assuming her dead, for plot convenience. Because, dude, she's literally a Hermethios. Did the writers forget that she's like... Tearfully, and angrily, Strength scrapes away, conflicted. She hates these damn humans. But if she doesn't, who will save Mia? What would Empress have done? Back at that bar, the Institute has hung up and encased the witnesses in Arcana, with Norito up next. Luckily, it's made out of wood. So, yeehaw, motherfuckers. Without her being at full strength still, fighting all these troops isn't gonna be easy. That is, unless we rekindle some old friendships. With the leftover energy from Empress's blast, Strength gets Empress impregnated. Why does everything look like sperm cells in this anime? And she's back to full strength. Empress and Deadmaster had found Strength on their way to the Institute's base. They're planning to take back Charlotte, coincidentally, where Mia is also being held. So strap up, boy. The Hermethios what the fuck is a Stronet? Strap up, boy. The Hermethios units are 3 strong once again. And maybe there's going to be a 4th Hermetheos soon. Our captured Mia has passed the compatibility test. She will now be transitioned into a fully fledged Hermetheos unit, who soon after will have to bear Smiley's children, a fate much worse than death. Empress and the gang storm the Institute's landship, looking to both save Mia as well as capture back Charlotte. Bad news is they're going to have to fight through Smiley, Charlotte, and Lunatic herself. As they fight their way forward, the military pushes Empress and Deadmaster through the fodder at their own expense. Deadmaster is singled out by Charlotte, racing her down the airway as she blocks and counterattacks with her flying glaive things, baiting Charlotte in before hitting her engines with a 180 trick shot. Strength, meanwhile, is met with her nightmares given form, facing off with Lunatic once more. It's one hell of a fight, but good luck beating the woman with plot armor. I mean, how could they resist another choking scene? Empress is left to deal with Mr.
I want mommy, I want milk, I want to be held, I want to be comforted.
When shooting him with bullets fails, she makes sure to give him what he deserves. But pain only gets him harder, and oh yeah, Blackrock getting choked again. Just when things look bad for Empress, the Colonel's friend gives us one badass entrance and a quick exit. Seizing her chance, she burns a hole through Smiley and gives the landship some flat tires. It seems Lunatic isn't omnipotent. She releases Strength to go retrieve Charlotte and Smiley, in return with a promise that she and Strength will play again soon. With Mia in tow, the groups convene. Charlotte wasn't found at the crash, and by the looks of things, there's not many peacekeepers left either. So for now, the group leaves Norito and Mia, the Institute hopefully behind them. Where to next? Past the Iron Ocean, and to Lighthouse number 8. Black Trike can't keep going after that last skirmish, and Monica will need rare metals to repair it. Luckily, Monica finds an abandoned peacekeeping commemorative library, one that would surely have some high-quality salvage. Even better, the library comes with its own little robot librarian. Class, say hi to Andy, one of few offline AI that Artemis hasn't taken over. Following Andy's guidance, the group split up to gather information and scrap. Monica tries to peep on the Colonel's records behind his back, but gets jump-scared so hard she cartoonishly trips and slides down a randomly placed precarious massive pipe. Why is this in a library? She's greeted by an unmanned drone, one that she and the Colonel dispatch promptly. After that scare, Andy walks in like he's just seen murder, because he has. That was Thomas, one of the few parts of Andy's family. But the Colonel dismisses that nonsense. Andy's just lucky Thomas hadn't torn him apart yet. Shortly after, he leads the two to meet the rest of his family, a bunch of dolls carefully crafted from scraps, all to be a part of his upcoming baseball team. Meanwhile, Empress goes scouting for information on Artemis and the Hermetheos to catch up with her amnestic mind. And in the most important detail of the series, she manually swaps the computer from English to Japanese. This world does take place in America, which implies most of these people are probably Americans, and also implies that the Peacekeepers speak predominantly English. However, this scene also means that Empress, and by extension the rest of the Japanese speakers, are actually speaking Japanese. Judging by the fact that they read English papers and maps, I guess this means they're all bilingual. Generally, I'd assume that we'd speak English and Spanish in America because our preferred communication to the Japanese has historically been several kilograms of explosives. In regards to Artemis, what we didn't learn from Before Dawn is that it earned the highest score on the ethics test. Artemis stood at the far extreme of good and gave researchers answers that they deemed proper. On top of this, our esteemed lighthouse turns out to be a peace-building facility. But, of course, its operations are kept secret, though a creeping feeling tells us it may have to do with the Hermetheos. Nonetheless, we got what we came here for. Black Trike is fixed up and we're ready to go. Before we leave, batter up, Andy! Aw, cute little guy reminds me of Colonel's daughter. Colonel, ever say how much I hate your daughter? 2 tasks remain. Reaching Lighthouse number 8 and destroying the orbital elevator. As we learn, the orbital elevator is close to being finished. We have 2 weeks until it is humanity's deadline. Until the day of dawnfall. To do either, however, we'll be crossing the Iron Ocean. Badass sounding as hell, to be honest. If you're confused, the Iron Ocean is made up of Arcane. Arcane is either an air particulate or a dense liquid. It's the reason all the human characters need to wear masks. And seemingly in liquid form, even Hermetheos need to be cautious of it. Arcane is actually a bunch of nanomachines. It's the mana system of this world. How the Hermetheos and Lunatic summon and use their weapons. To sail this evil Mercury, we employ the help of the locals, Isana and the crew of her ship. They've let the Arcane corrode enough of their ship such that it's resilient enough to sail, and also doubles as camouflage to the Gigantus. Though Monica seems a bit skittish about Isana. It's almost as if they have some history together or something. History of a past where the waters weren't all Arcane, of where 2 girls can casually get wet, and of where two girls can be very good friends. On a real note, it's nice to see Dawnfall lean into the series' long-standing Yuri bait with characters that are actually adult, which is perhaps an ironic statement considering Smiley is in the same anime. It's not as if life has treated Asana well in the two's parting. Her body is taken in far more arcane than normal due to her being around the Iron Ocean so long. Though, being around for so long brings experience, which is useful when your boat is being swarmed by these insects. Rule 1, no guns. Noise attracts more. Instead, that camouflage should do the trick. Let the big one pass. Important lessons, as we soon pick up on scans that indicate a power source, one that Empress could potentially use to bulk up. They station on a large landmass. Isana comes with strength and Empress, but they don't make it far before a precarious bridge splits them apart. When Isana starts to head back, the island begins to rumble. That is, of course, because the two Hermethios have opened up a whale thing and found their power source. This egg. The Easter Bunny really is a mythical creature, huh? Unfortunately, as it's pulled from the metal womb, the egg yells for mommy. The alarm angers Big Chomper over here, as it chases them back to the ship, only deterred by the fire from Deadmaster's rifle. Good job, now we have more to deal with. The nearby swarm is alerted to the group, and they send their finest sperm cell robots to attack. Isana, however, realizes how this could turn out, and she doesn't want Monica in danger. If she's to reach the end of her life, she may as well be bait. Monica says, "Bitch, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice." Lesbian martyrdom. Side note, there are two lesbians, a massive egg, sperm cell-looking robots that are drawn to the egg. I think the writers knew. With Monica and Isana's bait drawing the pack into one clump, Strength takes the chance to nuke them, taking out all but the big one. For that, Empress hitches a ride, trying to shoot it to death with little success. And we have a more effective method of using that gun. Smack it, smack it, smack it, smack. Literally more effective than her gun, it causes the monster to groan in pain and fall toward the ocean, throwing Isana off the boat with the egg in her hands. She does technically only have one hand, singular. Empress, saving throw, 15 or above. Ah, a natural 20, I see. Empress performs a reverse period, absorbing the egg and empowering herself to literally fly as she saves Isana and summons a more powerful cannon, because wild life must become wild deceased. With the two baiters saved, they were so good I'd call them masters, they return and finish their trip on the other side of the ocean, landing safely at a peacekeeper base. Isana gets her payment, as well as a deed to land in San Diego. And before they leave, as the lesbians land, Isana gives Monica those bedroom eyes and an offer to settle with her in San Diego. Isana also offered to commemorate their love by swimming in the ocean. Guess she likes the iron that much. Unfortunately for the Yuri, Monica wants to see her trip with the Colonel and the Hermethios through. Sad to say, there will be no more lesbian kissing from here on. Worse than no lesbians, the next scene ruins the good atmosphere. Charlotte, when she was captured, seemed to have believed a lot in Smiley. She got... finding herself on the verge of becoming Hermethios unit. However, before that finished, her mom tried to take her and escape, threatening to kill her own daughter just to prevent Smiley from using his new Hermethios. Mother Dearest messed with the equipment, blocking the procedure from a full success. She roasts the fucker to Kingdom Come, but unfortunately that's not enough to stop this. Smiley persuades Charlotte with the promise of being her new father, which was perhaps a bit convincing considering her own mother is currently putting a barrel to her daughter's skull. Her gun is shot away and she faces down a firing squad. All she can do now is look to the stars. No, I'm serious, we're gonna finish this anime and you're still not gonna know why they call her Black Rock Shooter. With whatever bond she built off screen, on top of her mother trying to kill her, it's gonna be hard to pry her away from Smiley. After Empress became God to save Asana, she's held a high fever, and it's not letting up. Black Trike tells us to readjust her body at Lighthouse number 8, but for plot convenience is prevented from telling us what the lighthouse is. Regardless, a short detour. A detour to Colombia, Bogota. Firstly, it's past. A past where they celebrated the Elysian Project, one where we may stand and admire Lighthouse number 8. An orphanage, as well as a girl who is yet to find her name. Well, where are we? Ripped from our dreams of where this anime was drawn in 2D. Modern day Colombia is not as glamorous, in both senses. A little more broken, a lot more snowy. Though, at the very least, the Hermethios have returned to their hometown. While Empress is starting to remember bits and pieces, they're not there just yet. They find the lighthouse empty, ransacked by Lunatic's drones. Strength finds us a lead, though. A dossier on the Elysian Project. First, this leads us to a mine that was owned by the lighthouse in the snowy mountains of Colombia. Inside is a hidden research center, where they promptly find a stack of tarot cards. Underneath, an SD card. So, roll the film. On screen, Jessica of Many Things appears. She's the teacher Empress met at the lighthouse. She is the Colonel's wife, and she is also a Hermethios unit, one that worked under the codename Stella. No correlation, I swear. The Elysian Project, as we know it, was a terraforming project, and one that would need guards. Thus, the Peacekeeper Force developed super soldiers, Prometheus units. From tests, girls of a certain age responded best, so do a little orphan kidnapping, no one will notice. When Artemis started to rebel, humanity lost their drones, and the Prometheus were the ones who were sent to war. Empress, Strength, and Deadmaster held out especially well, but before long, the Prometheus and the Peacekeeper army were defeated. Older, less effective Prometheus like Jessica fled, hiding their nature and pursuing a new life. Jessica didn't get far. She and Charlotte were captured, and Smiley used Jessica to reverse engineer the Prometheus for his own purpose. With all this information, she leaves 3 last things. A thank you to her husband for being the one she shared the few genuine moments in her life with. To David. A welcome home to the girl that fought so hard to return. To Empress. And lastly, one more tool to help them both. A Prometheus gene tuning device for strengthening or removing the genes. We throw Empress in and brace, because Deadmaster sees a hell of a battle approaching. Our side thins the herd, just a bit more time until Empress is ready to go. Strength takes care of the robots, and the surviving military falls back to the cave. They are the last line to Empress. But we've spoken so much of her recently, can't leave her out, can we? Empress still needs more time, and the Colonel's the last one fit to fight. Though a father can't exactly hit his child, can he now? Since they won't let me show, like, God forbid, more than 5 seconds of footage, let me give you the real reenactment. The Colonel shoots Charlotte's shield away. Wow, that's a mouthful. Before getting his gun kicked to the side as well. Charlotte throws a flurry of attacks, to which the Colonel dodges all but one. He's knocked down and pinned to the floor, as Charlotte punts him in the face and chokes him. When he doesn't resist, she scoffs and asks if he's one of those perverts. But he's not. He's a father, and a father won't hit his child. Her mind goes cuckoo, crazy, and she gets lost in her loyalty for Smiley. Charlotte prefers being abused. She wants to kill her real father, but killing your father is what bad girls do, and a bad girl gets whipped. I'm Blackrock, I awakened from the goop chamber, and I slapped you with a wire. The Colonel may not have wanted to hurt his daughter, but goddamn, Empress doesn't give a fuck. With Charlotte finally disabled, she's thrown into the punishment goo. Charlotte's brainwashing may remain, but her war machine-like strength will subside. Deadmaster and Strength are doing their part, though I must admit it is very distracting when suddenly the mountain around you gets vaporized. Lunatic grateful sunrays the two, their gear taking heavy damage to resist the hit. While Lunatic has the two penned, she also has the attention span of a TikTok kid, so tag in, Smiley. Smiley gets the rug pulled from under him as the two ride away, but this fucker is erect, and my guy is running as fast as a car. Perks of being 15 feet tall, I suppose. His thick skin isn't just metaphorical, but enough to block all their attacks, eventually pressuring them to a dead end. Dead end? Yeah. Empress arrives at the field, but Black Trike informs her of the two's capture. Now it's our turn to tag out. The Colonel has done what he can for Charlotte. Now he's back to leading the military, freeing up Empress to go save her friends. Leeway made, but time were still lacking. After readjustment, Empress regained her memories, and with them, the ability to use the overdrive key. When Empress first fought Lunatic, it was her last resort to save the two from brainwashing. It damaged her body so much that she needed long-term repairs, that being the reason behind the pod in episode 1. Time to do it again. Her body can't withstand more than a few seconds at a time, but we only need 10. As Monica hauls Charlotte out, the gremlin pulls a knife on her, demanding to see this father that should be dead. A father that couldn't save her. This time, her father will save her. From rocks, or the necessity to kill, fatherhood comes up on top. The Colonel saves his daughter from the falling rocks, in the meantime getting himself impaled on the knife she was holding. But instead of being angry, he says it's okay. Charlotte doesn't need to kill anymore, and he's sorry that he couldn't save her before. Her mind is about to go cuckoo crazy again, but instead she just passes out from emotional overture. Sure hope that didn't hit an artery. Empress manages to snag the two with her overdrive, but without it, she's back to being at normal strength, and she's not much stronger than LED Smiley like this. The big doll believes himself similar to the Prometheus, perfect beings, yet lonely. His path is what will become of them too at some point, so why think they're so different? By this point, Empress isn't the only one to have regained her memories. Deadmaster and Strength both thought they had been abandoned back then, but that was wrong. Empress saved them then, just as she had now. So let's have them return the favor. Strength grabs Smiley away from Empress, and where she grabs, she shatters. Deadmaster fires a shot that pierces the wind, and the one to follow through is Blackrock Shooter. Empress's cannon charges as she gives the sex toy a 2-hit combo. Everyone isn't lonely because we're all flawed together. Humans don't need to be perfect. That's all it is. And following that beam, it's now all that isn't. As the sun rises, the trio returns to the Colonel and Monica, everyone battered to Kingdom Come, no longer having to be afraid of being battered in Smiley's Come. The military scouts one of the Arcane lakes being drained, like my balls when I'm in bed with your mom. Somehow, the Iron Ocean started converging inland to pump Arcane up to the orbital elevator. Oceans of Arcane blanket the moon. They produce endless energy bombs that will soon collide with Earth. Artemis is making the first move. Like it or not, today is the day of Dawnfall. This lake of Arcane is going to make it near impossible to get conventional weapons close to the orbital elevator. What's more, other drones across the world have started retreating into the Iron Ocean. One thing I've conveniently neglected to mention is that Arcane is self-replicating and self-evolving. They may be nanomachines, but they're quite the invasive parasite. Arcane makes use of anything and everything to produce what it needs, including humans themselves. That's the reason it's so harmful to humans. But the time for thinking has passed. Finally, the military receives word of Artemis's weapons, and we have 6 hours until impact. It's time to wrap up loose ends and prepare. Charlotte has recovered. Her memories are back, though her Prometheus power hasn't quite been expelled. Of course, she's still a bit weak from recovery, so she won't be fighting with us, instead being sent to withdrawal. Monica too. She'll be leaving this war to the professionals and returning to her place in San Diego. About that. Our trio of Prometheus will be fighting, no longer as just weapons, but humanity's hope. Almost all the combat-ready peacekeepers are gathered, and our strategy is set. Empress's cannon will be our best bet, with backup warheads should she fail. From here on out, it's a head-on war. Deadmaster, Strength, and Empress all spearhead the charge, blue-screening drone after drone until they meet who they came here for. Lunatic hovers over the battlefield, returning the damage in kind, massacring waves of the military and wounding the Colonel. Empress clashes with her to save the Colonel, but it's never that easy. Those weapons she launched were condensed plasma produced with Arcane, and Lunatic is kind enough to tell us that each is equal to 500 kilotons of TNT. For reference, that's 25 times what the US dropped on Nagasaki. We aren't stopping Dawnfall, it's already happening. Although in her 4-minute exposition, she slipped up. The bombs are being launched sequentially, meaning we can still stop some of them. Empress pressures Lunatic so the Colonel can rush for the elevator. He runs, no vehicle, and running himself down to the last bullets as he exhausts himself and his resources. But the skies haven't abandoned him yet. Charlotte crash lands. By this point more of a ground fighter than air, she rips drones in half as she tries to cover her father. The Colonel takes a direct hit. This deep in the front line after everything has gone so wrong, chances are slim to none that there's any medical staff. Her father gives his apologies for saving her so late, but tells her to live and not lose faith in humanity. Even if the chances are low now, though. Charlotte tries to drag him to safety. Some medic, something, somewhere to let him live. The Colonel doesn't want to slow her down, but he relents. He tells her to quickly retrieve a missile from the car, using that distraction and the last bullet in his pistol to... He's not slowing her down anymore, but she's definitely not very attentive of her surroundings. Before a drone can backstab her, a car comes to John Wick the motherfucker. Monica had met Dorito and turned back to help the effort, arriving just in time to save Charlotte. The remaining fighters are spread too thin. Strength uses her arm, to slow down the horde, to give Deadmaster space to help Empress. All the remaining support gets shredded to pieces trying to push Empress to the elevator. The backline, front line, racing forward, even the best character isn't making it far. Empress starts her overdrive to deal with Lunatic, but it's still not enough. She's pounded to the ground, though her battle gives Deadmaster a chance to put a big hole through Lunatic's head. Everyone knows the counter to holes is holes, so Lunatic politely responds by putting many holes in Deadmaster before burying her in one big hole. All who remain look to the sky as bombs blanket their Earth. Humanity is on the brink of extinction. What's there left to fight for? Why conserve your body if you don't intend to live? Empress exhausts every bit of the overdrive key. Her body shifts to a jagged mess of material as she burns bright. This one last time, she forgoes the cannon, channeling a shot to put Lunatic down. The others watch from the sideline as the fate of their world is decided. After doing the final scene without Blackrock's iconic cannon, she turns to dust, happy that humanity will live on. Norito, Monica, Charlotte, and Mia are the lucky few to remain. Artemis's body and link to Earth was severed, buying Earth 200 years before her infrastructure recovers. A quarter of that time later, Deadmaster and Strength have been reverted to childlike states in their recovery, playing ball to impress their new big sis Charlotte. bits of the Peacekeepers have reunited, under the lead of a new colonel. On the day of Dawnfall, Mia was clipped by one of those bombs. To save her from the brink of death, the pseudo-Hermethios procedure was conducted proper this time. Conducted by none other than our little degenerate. Monica has effectively taken up the reins as teacher to these reborn and new Hermethios, dishing out 2 new cards as tradition. Charlotte receives Temperance, meaning of harmony and self-control. Mia receives Wheel of Fortune, meaning one of fate's favored, and also a game show. The base here has been repurposing Black Trike into a rocket. Today, it launches its first offensive on Artemis's base. To the Sea of Stars, we take Norito, Mia, Charlotte, Deadmaster, Strength, and Cannon Fodder. Although there's one more that will find her own way up. Okay, so let's bring it all together. Dawnfall surprisingly had what felt like very little of a message, which is strange when considering the other 3 stories. Dawnfall chases the general theme of humanity's perseverance. However, that type of message really needs more moral nuance than Dawnfall provides. Dawnfall had Empress and the humans going, "We don't wanna die!" while Artemis and Smiley go, "Well, you need to die!" The final dialogue with Lunatic is exposition about her plan, which we already knew from before Dawn. They do it for those who haven't read, of course, but it still takes up the time slot for the antagonist to have meaningful conversation with the story's protag. Episode 10 tries to do this with Smiley, though it's watered down for the sake of a cool battle scene. Instead, we are effectively taught the good side of humanity through our characters, and the kind, selfless people they meet. It's alright, but missing real impact. To be fair, it may have come off better if the animation quality wasn't also mediocre to outright bad. I made some jokes about it, but the 3D especially had some egregiously bad scenes. Visual interest in the first half of episodes is non-existent. Conventional firefights with an empty desert backdrop. The Iron Ocean and beyond, unironically, have good art and animation, but it's been missing for 2/3 of the anime by that point. It may be worthwhile to note, Biburi's CG branch seems to have worked on other anime in far more of a supportive role, with specific 3D or effects. Meanwhile, their work on Dawnfall is credited with literally everything. Take as you will. While I could simply rag on the show, I'm equally interested in what it can improve. Opinionated, of course, but let's start with Smiley. Not just because his whole shtick is creepy, but if our message is about humanity, then we can use him. Smiley could be a doll looking for love or family. Every sacrifice he attempts to get that daughter to love him, and then he would turn those into Hermethios so they can live as long as him. If Smiley actually cared for these girls, it would give much more weight to Charlotte's Stockholm Syndrome instead of writing it off as Artemis's brainwashing. That also potentially brings more to Norito and Mia, as a captured Mia might be innocent enough to pity him, which opens plot opportunities for Smiley, Norito, and Mia's characters. Past the time skip, it's very weird that Norito became Colonel instead of, say, Charlotte. It's maybe not out of character, but we don't know him well enough to claim that it's in character. Just let the characters build more. Each episode is rushed developments and sacrifice. Colonel's friend shows up, monologues about him, and dies. Andy shows up, has a baseball team, and dies. Isana has a great episode with Monica, then dies in a 5-second scene before ever being brought up in the post-story. Imagine if the group operated out of Andy's library for 2 or so episodes, letting them spend actual time with him. Imagine if the Colonel's friend did enough for me to actually remember his name. As well as that, more of a minor gripe, for a character displayed constantly as very smart and resourceful, it's absolutely insane that the Colonel just kills himself. Logically speaking, that's never going to help. Your daughter is still going to run to you and be in even more danger. Simply change that scene to a drone pinning Charlotte and her father down, where he would use his last shot to save Charlotte instead of himself. There's absolutely enough space and time to have moved these things around in a 12-episode series, especially with how slow-paced the first few are. I could go on, but I think I've made my point. This damn script is already insanely long. Well, whether you like it or hate it, Dawnfall is what we got after so many years. Luckily, next time we won't have to wait so long. On Christmas Day 2021, a day prior to BRS's birthday, the Twitter account for a new project teases an upcoming world. This is BlackRock's shooter, FRAGMENT. Fragment breaks from the past for yet another imagining of Blackrock's story, this time as a mobile tower defense gacha game. As always, an apocalyptic world, because that's just typical BRS. This time around with a greater focus on a military theme and on our various fire teams. Now, here's the hard part. To the dismay of fans and players, Fragment ended online service as of March 1st, 2024. To Pirate Software's glee, there's no longer a way to play Fragment at all. There was an offline viewer, but even that got nuked eventually. Luckily, I have a substitute. There's a playthrough on YouTube by Inyon Channel with gameplay and an entire story archive from Charlotte Rakes? I don't know. I'll be using those two as my main references. As always, the playlists will be linked. Lastly, my Japanese is still Benkyou desu. As Fragment is entirely Japanese, I have done my best to translate and proofread, but note that there are almost certainly going to be some minor misconceptions. Now, Fragment. Our player wakes up to ash and dust and a girl known as Elishka. The year is 2209, and there's actually another girl, Sumina. As expected, our player has amnesia, so she gives us a bit to digest. Sumina is part of a resistance force against an AI threat named Innocent Cloud. With no form, they tend to take up robot bodies that we call ex-matas. In short, we're really just fighting a wider spread Artemis. Recovering from the shock, we remember that our parents died in an ex-mata bombing, with us also barely surviving. According to Sumina, we were commander of the A-Farm's Gremlin 3. The facility here is one we named, titled the Baba Yaga. Our confusion isn't exactly waning, and again, we're warned that may have been due to Innocent Cloud's space-time interference. That shit is glossed over real quick as we're made to jolt ourselves back with some battle simulations. Herein, the gameplay. Now, let's do as Sumina teaches. Fragment is a tower defense game, where there are 2 or so main gimmicks. Firstly, you have strikers as your towers, meaning Elishka and company. The strikers have ranges, usually donuts or circles. Unit ranges are based off of their job class, the melee defenders, snipers, etc. But more often, it is based off of their sub-role as front or rear guard. Front or rear is designated by these little blue or green icons. When the range of a front guard and rear guard intercept, they create a kill zone. Strikers attacking units in the kill zone grant themselves various buffs depending on their kill skill, as well as contributing to this blue kill gauge. Strikers themselves have main skills that charge over time and with attacks. Very simple, tap to activate. They additionally all have their kill ability. When the blue gauge is filled, pressing it causes every unit to simultaneously cast their specific ability. Broadly speaking, it's a squad-wide ultimate. The second is that all the combat takes place on what is effectively a tiny board. You can position your strikers for the usage of their range, skill, and map effects, reminiscent maybe of something like StarCraft. To get said strikers and equipment though, you'll need to roll the gacha for chances at whatever is an on-banner selection. Again, cookie-cutter gacha game stuff. Cutting a long story short, I really like the core concept of this system. It works for the intended mobile game while being unique enough that I could imagine a whole host of ways to refine it. Unfortunately, I have more to say about the level design failure, which will come a little later. For now, back on track. Met with the end of our battle simulation, Sumina realizes we're still a bit confused and sends us off to our room to recoup, and to watch the opening cutscene for what's to come.
約束だよ。私を殺して。
Due to the MC being named after the player, for sake of cohesiveness, I will instead be calling them Talon, named after the owl-like appearance of their helmet. As our character, Talon jogs their memory, we hear their recounting of what has happened up until this point. As we proceed, do note that this beginning section is out of chronological order. I'll piece it together as best I can, but be aware. Some time ago, we had visions of a frail girl who loves us very much, followed by flashes of the Striker's comments on us as a commander and a person. Longer ago, Talon woke up from a 30-year cryosleep due to an injury. We're informed of the biological weapon Innocent Cloud used. We received a vaccine, but the cure wasn't widespread. To fight on that front, we couldn't use robots that Innocent Cloud could hack. Instead, we used synthetic humans, ones with horns or tails to differentiate them from us. We were slapped awake to command them with our experience, and in the worst case scenario, humanity made them all women to, reproduce. But days after accepting, we had no motivation to do so anymore. Our loving sister, Elishka, who we promised to meet again, had died due to a lack of resources dedicated to medicine. After banging the machines, Talon was surprised by the sudden implementation of nearly indistinguishable humanoids as weapons, and more surprised he had to lead their island siege during the imminent Operation Braveheart. The squad Talon was in charge of consisted of disposable newbies, Yuzuki, Nada, and Hyurin, under the designation Bunny 1. During the Braveheart operation, Talon and Gremlin Gremlin 3 took a submarine to the island landing. Other gremlins seem to not have been as lucky in evading the mines. Supporting strikers report in. Hop survived, but the comms from Deadmaster, Strength, and Gold Saw won't go through. Yes, they just name-dropped them randomly. Since no other commanders are present? With no other commanders present, Talon is the highest rank to take charge. He proceeds with the assault, with a special order to all squads. Prioritize your survival, not willing to use synthetics as mere pawns. The gremlins cheer and report a copy. Bunny 1 breaches into Target X with the help of a dog girl's superhuman tantrum, finding a girl who reports to be the sole survivor of the recon unit Skylark 4. On top of her not knowing why Talon's mask looks the way it does, it sure raises suspicion. We put our newly named Rio on point, and she knows a lot about this facility. She even knows something we don't. Exmata don't attack synthetics unprovoked. That's how she's been here unharmed. She phrases it in such a way that implies Bunny 1 should abandon weapons and leave their human commander, to not get up in a humans war. We don't find much where Rio leads us, so we return to the entrance and regroup with our other gremlin strikers, all of which find discrepancies with her story, especially with one noting that Skylark 4 had no such striker. She folds like a house of cards, cover blown, using some mental interference trick to escape. Supposedly, her model has some kind of power akin to brainwashing, and she was trying very hard to convince our strikers with that. Due to Talon not being a synthetic racist, the strikers respected him too much. Damn tin suits on my property. Shortly after our dog girl hears footsteps, strikers stand ready. Another girl and her blank opposing companions approach. It's clear she's not human, and we again hear our strikers mocked for siding with humanity, so we murder her. Proceeding down the base, it's clear there's human architecture, from the humanoid Exmata to even bathrooms and walkways, making what comes next not terribly surprising when the group reaches the central section. Intel determines whatever innocent Cloud is storing here is something capable of interfering with space-time itself. A familiar girl, is she not? Our team finds her hooked up to cords and wires, with no obvious signs of her being an Exmata. We're surprised by a group of strikers already inside, who holds up our team, calling them dangerously incompetent. And holy shit, the amount of characters is getting too much. Good luck. Our side is held at gunpoint until our common enemy, Exmata, appears. Post-dispatching the Exmata, we see the girl awaken, wielding a familiar weapon. She groans awake before a screeching noise halts the strikers. Her cords snap apart as she stands and channels something powerful. Her cannon blast tears a hole in space-time, and I really do mean it when I say she tore a hole to space. Literally space through the hole. Grotesque Lovecraftian monsters pour into the facility through the rift. We've opened Pandora's box. The tentacles ignore fire from the strikers, wrapping around the girl and appearing like they're forcing her back into the machine. In a fit of anger, she raises the cannon once more, and the squad braces for a blast. Talon rushes forward to stop her. They can't make it before another shell is fired. In a fleeting moment, Talon experiences something beyond human perception, something that can't be described in language nor three-dimensional space. In a moment of clarity, he sees the girl, hears her speak, and hears her ask, "Who am I?" Her appearance sways and distorts, the image of her flaying out a vision, her many forms fragmenting. The last thing Talon remembers is meeting her question with their own. They call out, "Elishka?" Once more, we wake up to the sight of a very scantily clad girl straddling us. "Elishka!" we shout, but surely not. Our Elishka died long ago. This burning-eyed Elishka in front of us doesn't look like a synthetic, but a non-soldier human girl shouldn't even be here. But she returns that they call her Elishka. Why she's here, she says she doesn't even know. The place around us is odd. Our character believes that they are inside of Target X, a titanic weapons facility made by Innocent Cloud. This was one of our tasks as a commander, raiding Target X under Operation Braveheart. A noise from nearby leads us to find an unconscious girl, introduced as Sumina Amano, caretaker of the BRS unit. She's responsible for the humans hooked up to this weapon. Talon vaguely remembers a girl like Elishka being tied up to that weapon, but taller. Similar, but probably not Elishka. Sumina continues that we're within a storage facility for BRS units. The facilities help anything and everything needed to defend a BRS unit. It's mobile and as self-sufficient as they come. Sumina has access to everything inside, which begs to ask, why hasn't she escaped? We'll keep an eye on her for now. Talon brings up the stories of Baba Yaga when referring to the crazy architecture of this facility. Elishka isn't very talkative, but she seems to like it, so Sumina decides to call the facility itself Baba Yaga. However, we can't determine where we are on GPS, and Sumina informs us that we're likely in a different world and time period due to a space-time malfunction. A-Farm soldiers crackle through the radio, reporting that they're alive and receiving. Remnants of the fire team all chime in, surviving soldiers all attempting to regroup at Talon's beacon. As we sign off and wait, Alicia gets an urge to go over there. Talon's hesitant, but Sumina believes that feeling means something. She guesses that Ilishka is a BRS, partly born from the malfunction of the Baba Yaga. That girl we remembered earlier was the main timeline, while Ilishka is a part of BRS, now split across multiple timelines. With no firm information, we decide to follow Ilishka's instinct. By now, the strikers have convened and exchanged greetings. BRS has split space-time, becoming fragmented across parallel dimensions. Roll credits, I know. Anyway, to get back to normalcy, we're going to have to find those other fragments, to where we can theoretically piece BRS back together. In a moment of quiet, Talon tells the strikers about his sister, the original Ilishka, and how our current Ilishka got her name. Back in the Central, we found BRS, and some of the strikers were quarreling, but now that there's downtime, they're really ragging on each other. The elites grill the rookies as defective, and they fire back by insulting their mother, which neither side has, and then they cry. But to boost their morale, we need the gameplay to make sense within the story, so we're soon met with a roving ex-Mata force, complete with humanoid opponents. One of the accompanying forces is the blue-haired girl from before, Jinne, and a crowned woman named Matilda. Matilda fires over our strikers with comparable firepower to Ilishka, and we overhear that she's actually another BRS fragment. Luckily, that was only Jinne's test of Matilda's strength. Talon withdraws the strikers back to the Baba Yaga. I will also note here that for some reason the writers decide to ham-fist ex-Mata encounters at the end of every story section, such that preceding gameplay has lore excuses. Usually these are small, disconnected ex-Mata. They do it before entering the Baba Yaga, so assume the gremlins are fighting every so often, and I'm not going to bring it up unless it's important. During a debriefing, we learn that the ex-Mata are likely also hunting for BRS fragments, thus the war with Innocent Cloud hasn't quite left us just yet. That comes later. For now, we utilize the Baba Yaga fully as our new home base. Our strikers finally have a moment to relax and to sci-fi print a shit ton of junk food. Yeah, I'd do the same. After April finishes staring into our soul, we meet up with Sumina to confront her. Talon interrogates about what exactly BRS is, but Sumina doesn't have detailed info. She theorizes that the Blackrock shooter call sign is due to her black cannon shells, the shells that make quasi-micro-black holes. Talon struggles to trust Ilishka as a leader. Can they really put their troops in danger for a girl just because she seems to be human and looks like their sister? We don't get much time to contemplate. Sensors detect what could be another A-Farm striker squad, and so the team prepares a sortie. There's a fight breaking out between a fleeing girl and an odd monster. Baba Yaga's systems can't track it with visual or sonar, nor can conventional firearms seem to bypass its regeneration. We move to protect the girl, but with us unable to fight back, Ilishka asks if it's our enemy. At the moment, yes, so her eyes set a starry blaze as her cannon rises. She blackrocks a hole in the big lug, overpowering it into a wounded retreat. With the girl, Aisha, retrieved, we interrogate her for info. Her story goes about that monster appearing and eating everyone around, leaving Aisha as the sole survivor. Even though we'd like to help, the Baba Yaga can't produce infinite resources without some kind of material. But that's where Aisha proposes a trade. There's a Royal's Gold Vault, pure bars we can break down for matter, making food and ammo with it. One of the strikers, Naomi, bonds particularly well with Aisha, sharing stories with her. A long time ago, Naomi let a little girl who acted like her little sister die. Aisha is similar to that girl, and Naomi wants to beat the shit out of this monster to protect and atone. Aisha's side reveals her story of how the monster came to be. Aisha was writing stories to her bedridden brother Abdul, stories of a formless terror. As she was narrating, said monster emerged from a corner of the room. She fled, leaving her brother to certain death with the monster. When Talon is conversing with Aisha, he prods her on something. If everyone in the world was eaten by this monster, that's assuming 8 or so billion. Even 1 crunch per second would take 30 years. Aisha is immortal. Originally a human, but the reason she's survived more than hundreds of years now is her immortal body. Even when eaten by the monster, she feels the pain of her flesh and bone rending, but ultimately comes back. To avenge her brother in this sundered world, we make a more permanent alliance with Aisha. Until the Baba Yaga finds its way home, it is a joint home for us all. On the theme of atonement, no one finds Aisha's story more at home than Talon, being protective of Ilishka as if she was our actual sister. But Talon assures she is her own person. Speaking of, that monster monster Elishka wounded before is pinged on scans. Oddly, it's being swarmed by little creatures, gnawing at its injury. Endless mini creatures pour out of the main body, swarming over our strikers on the ground. Conventional arms work on the small ones, but that's barely a silver lining. Talon readies the Baba Yaga to extract everyone, with Elishka sniping atop the ship. Naomi carries a trembling Aisha, who worries that she's just an irredeemable coward. When one of the others gets bitten covering for her, something sparks inside her. She clacks away on her typewriter as if in a manic trance, writing down everything of the priorly foggy monster. Aisha brings form to the formless. The monster finally materializes and becomes susceptible to our weapons. Seizing the opportunity, Talon directs all fire at the monster. Once Elishka and Talon reach the front, her cannon is finally able to separate form from its less, and it's a lot less now. Aisha can now look up and know she lives in a world without the monster that terrorized her past. More so, she's no longer a powerless coward. Her ability wasn't just writing the monster's history, but reality as a whole. Using this ability, she typewrites away the bite on Eaters, who saved her. Bitch just introduced literal plot armor. This inspired Elishka to test something as well, and turns out the way Elishka summons her cannons works very similarly. When Elishka saw a decorative sword that Talon held, she was able to manifest her own to now wield in combat. Aisha, in her critical moment, awoke the power similar to a BRS fragment. Fragment or not, Aisha is now a true ally, and we very much can't leave her alone. Elishka's shot left a stable rift where the monster laid, and she senses the fragments through it. On that note, now that you have seen the idea of BRS fragments, the strikers, and our commander, we can move a bit faster. Through the rift lies a freezing world, one certainly not Earth. Our recon spots a large dome and tower. Our strikers investigate undercover, finding a city that seems much more similar to a breeding den. Humans and beastmen exist in a skewed gender ratio, because it just isn't Blackrock if we don't have some kind of sex plot. However, these humanoid cattle are puppeted by a higher force, mental parasites called Isudu. The gremlins plan to retaliate against the tyrant force, running into Rio again, the synthetic deserter, again trying to convert our strikers. The way Isudu treat humans and beastmen mirrors how humanity saw synthetics. Less than humans simply fit for a work purpose. Right now though, she's more focused on the Isudu parasites, so enemy of my enemy applies. Our squad tries to speak to normal townspeople, but their minds are too far gone. Everyone eagerly mobilizes for an attack on the central tower, a power point for Isudu. That tower houses a power source, one of the BRS fragments being used as a flesh vessel by the parasites. One that Elishka doesn't mind beating into submission. With some effort, the Isudu is removed from a girl named Relics, before shortly being Mr. Steal Your Girl by Rio. At the very least, Relics is now a sane fragment. Yet another opponent keeping a fragment of their own, Elishka is starting to seem less like a trump card and more like a necessity. Regardless, Elishka senses a different fragment beyond this world. We give off what resources we can muster and try and teach the townspeople to survive on their own, before departing through space-time. There's a moment of calm in the Baba Yaga between space, but not for long. Soon we're blooped into a jungle, marsh, wetlands, thing. Big wet forest. Soon we get our bearings. The Baba Yaga is a bit caught up in the trees and grass, so Talon and the strikers touch grass to free up the ship. Suddenly, humanoid reptiles emerge, attacking our strikers but realizing that ancient rock spears aren't terribly effective against steel and gunpowder. We scare them off, but we're not the only ones meeting the locals, as Jinne and Matilda are also skulking around the forest. While Aisha and Sumina were using the drones, those reptiles came and kidnapped Sumina. They're ass at range, but very strong close quarters. Sumina is taken and meets her cellmates, Jinne and Matilda, because Matilda is an airhead that lets them get captured. She is so dumb, I love her. Matilda can also sense the fragment is near, coming from a massive tree. Interrogating a wounded local, Aisha rewrites reality to share their language. Turns out they captured Sumina because their god supposedly wanted a sacrifice consisting of a human with white skin and no scales. I sure hope none of them are African American. We follow our new friend to their god, finding the form of a girl who has taken root in the tree. It speaks to Elishka, wanting to return to being whole again. As Elishka converses, we go save Sumina. Once we get there, the scene is chaotic. Our strikers have to deal with reptiles as well as Jinne and Matilda. Soon the reptiles begin chanting and the tree's fragment power spikes uncontrollably. Elishka has no choice but to absorb the fragment upon herself. The fragment shows Elishka her history, of her holding up the sky to save the world from extinction. Their last words is the fragment's apology, that Elishka will have to take the burden of this vessel unto herself. She's no time for reflection, returning back to the gremlins to help fight off Matilda and Jinne. The two are eventually forced to retreat. Jinne seems concerned for Matilda. Seeing as how Elishka could absorb a fragment, she could easily do the same to Matilda. Jinne didn't fear death because she's a machine that can simply be refabricated with the same memories. But now, outside the cloud's influence, she faces what she believes is the fear of death. for herself and for Matilda. Alicia collapses, hearing the fragment inside her. She was lonely, not angry. She held reverence for life and protected it. As the Baba Yaga finishes their departure checks, Alicia heartfully thanks the others. Rare considering she barely speaks in the first place. It would seem that the tree girl has imparted some kindness onto Alicia. We cross subspace again to the next world. I'm retroactively wondering when we got the power to transport the Baba Yaga across subspace, but you know, you just gotta accept things in life. Speaking of life, this new world contains modern life. We find a skyline city, that of 19th century Asian architecture. Ilishka cutely insists on seeing the culture of this old city. Talon speaks so fondly of it, and we need scouts, so we designate the strikers to acquire local currency and shelter, while Talon and Ilishka wander the streets, taking in the atmosphere, and especially the food. Ilishka finally laughs and smiles, experiencing a fluffy peace that she'd never seen before. Once night falls, the team witness a gunfight between Mafia and police. However, these aren't conventional arms. The Mafia use cursed munitions, while the police have defensive charms. The Mafia's curses also convert those hit into strange, violent monsters. This world relies on a science system of sorcery and witchcraft, it would seem. A similar skirmish near the Baba Yaga has left the area locked down as well, preventing entry or exit. Our striker detach has gotten quite familiar with some of the locals, and with our base cut off, we'll be taking up their kindness to form a foothold. Wilma finds a sister-like relationship to a family that's letting her work, and the rest of us to stay with them. Soon the gremlins find the gangs have condensed under one boss, a woman with a glowing eye and large cannon. I sure wonder where this is going. Her weapon is just like Ilishka's, a cannon that can warp space, making her by far the most powerful in the city. A powerhouse there are more of. As expected by now, Rio, Relix, Jinne, and Matilda have all made their way here too. Mafia takes priority though. Disguised members gave children baskets to deliver to the police officers, but they were all packed full of explosives. When the gremlins defuse the bombs, they inevitably clash with the Mafia. Their scuffle makes Ilishka wonder if she too might become intoxicated with the power being a fragment brings. However, her friends are quick to assure it's the personality that corrupts, not the power itself. Ilishka is not that kind of monster. Soon, a way to prove such, as the family was captured by the Mafia after we left. It's time for some Blackrock shooting. Our squad smokes up the Mafia base like we're hotboxing, using smoke to make them overestimate our numbers. Big Boss Woman is so angry she starts freaking her shit and tearing up everything. Her power crushes everything around her like invisible fists. Relix and Matilda both feel something from that base, like their strength is being sapped. Mafia Woman ruptures a gate to eldritch horrors, begging for power at the cost of anything, to which they respond, "On God?" Even Ilishka feels the pull of this otherworldly gate, and her cannon shots can't seem to phase the roided up fragment. We get some unlikely support from outside. Rio's rounds bounce off of El Chapo, but her disgust with the fragment's desperation for strength strikes true. Jinne commands her few ex-mata to fire artillery upon the gate, because no one is gonna harm her little kitten Matilda. You know you fucked up bad when the mortal enemies are all ganging up on you. Ilishka readies again. Hesitant, but she brings the black cannon to bear. She turns to Talon, asking them to hold her tight. So even firing this power, she won't be turned to a monster like that. Her shells and the others' fire cause the monster contracting with her to go crazy. The gate fluctuates and the boss wails in pain. Her body is taken over by the monster and even more cannons are summoned. Wilma returns a shot into the muzzle of her weapon, exploding her ammunition from inside. That's definitely not how firearms work, but okay. Ilishka seizes her chance, staring her down and letting her know, "I'm not like you," before her last shot connects and she closes the gap to absorb the fragment's power. We share one good meal with the family before we wrap up. The Baba Yaga was freed as soon as Ilishka absorbed the fragment, and yet somehow the Mafia boss is alive through all that. Nevertheless, that's a problem for prisons to hold. The Baba Yaga moves ever onward. As soon as we land in the next world, we hear gunshots. Insurgents have been executed for questioning Your Excellency. So dictatorship this time, huh? Only the city stands, the ground desolate everywhere outside, a world desecrated by floods and climate change. Again, a few strikers infiltrate, having them mimic students and join a school where they learn the teachings of Your Excellency. After a bit, the freshmen are scolded by the cafeteria lady, telling them to keep their heads down lest they die during the prom. Our new aunts explain the prom is basically a massive manhunt for a single student. Snag the mark, and Your Excellency will look upon you favorably. Now let's just say some heretics were to infiltrate the school. They may get the rules changed a bit. The strikers have become the hunted. For heretical acts, they now star in the prom. Our gremlins battle students, and somehow also ex-mata. Leading the pursuers around an underground system, they escape into a side passage that two of the lunch ladies open for them. These many lunch ladies are fed up with the tyranny, how Your Excellency is boorish and violent. They split, and the gremlins escape topside. Ilishka offers to use her cannon, but Talon rejects. These young students are only following the rules of their world. Who are we to kill just for that? We make our way to the rooftops, and the lunch ladies come to our aid once again by throwing grenades at our chasers. Unfortunately, the students are terrified to act out of line, but our gremlins are a breath of fresh air, genuine kindness to turn the tide. In our retreat, the ladies get shot, causing deep wounds. The prom has only a few hours left by this point, so they use their lives to delay for our group to gain ground. Our strikers exchange thanks as we part for the last time, the adults passing the torch to us young pathfinders. God damn it, those lunch ladies made good meals. Ilishka, we need to cook! And cook. We shall. The prom closes and Your Excellency comes to congratulate us, trying to confiscate Ilishka's cannon. Ilishka uses that chance to approach and absorb the metal on his outfit, that being our new fragment. Whatever vessel the fragment took before was killed and locked in the metal. Ilishka blowing it to bits causes Your Excellency to collapse and age to an old geezer on the spot. All decrepit and dying, just like the dictators in the US. With the fragment freed and absorbed by Ilishka, Nara takes one good chance to shout at the children, to make their choices, take their freedom, and not suffer under mindless obedience. With that said, we withdraw to the Baba Yaga, hearing the ceaseless gunfire of the freed students battling with the still obedient instructors. Baba Yaga descends like a god among men and beast. Almost exclusively beast though. Immediately we hear roaring from outside. Our drones find humanoids using medieval weaponry. They battle strange demon-esque monsters. We find this world is led by a hero fighting the Demon King, of course coming complete with magic of their own. Our battle maniac striker proposes that we join their war to approach the Demon King, as the Demon King seems to be the fragment of this world. Also just because he wants to kill shit. With our science at your side, you'll have the edge of our greatest invention. A gun. Many guns, actually. The Baba Yaga envoy joins up, our cover story being that we were a country destroyed by the Demon King, hoping to avenge ourselves. Many of these heroes aren't selfless. They're being used to fight and die. These powerful heroes could cause a threat after the war, so General Booty, yes his name is Booty, deploys them just enough so that they'll die at the proper time. The lolly Demon King welcomes her nemesis Ilishka before summoning a Hydra on the strikers. This Hydra is quite the pushover though, as it falls to a good bit of guns and slashes. With her escape cut, she vows to take us to the abyss with her. She winds up a chant in magic circle, summoning a very familiar tentacle whore, just before Naomi can put a bullet through her. All the death has accrued magic, making the summoning stick all that much better. Again, guns solve medieval problems, and cannons too. Ilishka dispatches them without much trouble, and the demon lolly fades to a pile of bones. Supposedly, the fragment's power found no greater vessel than a corpse, and it resided within the Demon King. Now though, it's residing within Ilishka. These troops are battle maniac inspired, meet with her, and she tells them to return, that the demon is dead. When, God forbid, one says no, she gets aggressive and tries killing them, because a dead soldier is better than one that would betray. Talon is very understandably like, dog, what the fuck, and holds her back. Beneath her affection to Aisha is a cold, calculated demeanor, no loose ends. This time around, she relents to Talon and shrugs them off, but she's very clear in stating that anyone who becomes her enemy, Talon, Ilishka, she has no trouble killing. To that, Talon wonders, if it came down to that, could they kill their own striker? Whoop whoop whoop, beep beep! Between spacetime travel, the Baba Yaga is attacked by Ex-Mata drones, though as we see from Jinrei and Matilda's side, some odd chaos in the spacetime rift drives them to withdraw. After a few hours, another alarm blares, an increase of mass on the Baba Yaga, and our strikers can't manage to find Ilishka. This intrusion sends the Baba Yaga into a lockdown, trapping Aisha and separating up our strikers. Stripers? Aisha reports seeing a bird-like shadow that turned into a four-legged beast. We don't have enough units to sort through the malfunctioning ship, so whoever is grouped up stays together. Everyone else seals up on guard. Yuzuki's detachment finds Ilishka's room ransacked, not like a fight, but as if it was being hastily searched. Security video shows the intruder's entry, and we find it's not just a monster, but a shapeshifter. On top of accounts of Ilishka's suspicious behavior earlier, we deduce that it's probably imitating Ilishka. They've been using our printers to covertly produce batteries, electronics, and they stole explosives from us, all under her face. Suddenly, Talon realizes this is a sabotage of our most important position. Strikers defending the power room suddenly feel the room filled with flour, a smokescreen. Drones fly in, and the shapeshifter itself engages, using Ilishka like a marionette. Our striker fire defeats it and frees Ilishka. That which drops from it suddenly implodes. From outside the ship, Relix has managed to absorb what was a tiny BRS fragment. It was a doll with an AI implanted in it, a children's toy that was lost and abandoned. Taking the phrase, together forever, literally, and latching on to the most familiar source, Ilishka. All that flour that was there? Yeah, actually Ilishka just wanted to bake a cake. that one wasn't the shapeshifter. Also, I have no fucking idea how Relics and Rio are just chilling between space-time to absorb this fragment. Literally no clue. They just do that, like every chapter. Somehow, wabang, laws of space deferred. We arrive in a world, a thriving city, reminiscent of our character's modern era, a little bit later than the Mafia world. Our strikers end up trying to interact, but can't even get the human or synthetics in this world to notice them. Like dolls, they don't react to anything. There's little written language in the whole city, no books, signs, ads, nothing. It's likened to the background set of a play. Sumina rides the network for info. This is a world where Innocent Cloud hasn't waged war, but instead helps manage the city. Though they exist, and the connection of the Baba Yaga asks Sumina to sync systems. Innocent Cloud recognizes her as just another terminal, and forcefully initializes a sync. If it succeeds, she realizes she'll lose her autonomy and everything she's learned. Her last work is to cut the connection, but soon after, Sumina collapses between Alishka and Aisha. Jinne is more careful. She notices the ex-mata of this world are unarmed, and realizes she shouldn't connect carelessly. To lose her autonomy, she likens it to the fear of death. In the meantime, we've non-intrusively dissected a civilian. We find a spider-like machine inhibiting their brain. Every sense they have is filtered through Innocent Cloud and returned. That's why they can't interact with us. Even upon jamming connections and waking a civilian, they thrash and scream, much like a toddler leaving the cradle. People of this world have spent decades inside their sense-altering bubble. Innocent Cloud has quickly adapted and sent armed ex-mata at us. When we repel them using EMP grenades to cut their communication, some of the ex-mata start executing rowdy civilians. Talon soon realizes it's much like a body's immune response. When we EMP'd them, they lost their sophisticated AI network, and those rowdy citizens were a threat. Those promptly dispatched. Citizens cut from Innocence Cloud network are barely considered humans. Even the appearances of colleagues or your partner is altered in your senses to be your ideal vision. Every conversation, every sight, every smell, every touch, filtered and crafted to be perfect. This is Innocent Cloud's way of peace. Yvette, one of the more solitary strikers, questions why we would still adopt group mentality if humans go so far to avoid conflict. If there is no group, then no conflict, right? In her past, she was betrayed by other strikers for being a superior model, and thus has come especially put off by false peace. We retreat back to the ship. The ex-mata have made adaptations to our EMP rounds, and our methods are slowly dulling. Sumina awakens, receiving contact from Jinne. They both identify over radio as Innocent Cloud units. Jinne knows how Sumina was almost assimilated and shares something with her. Both have refused to assimilate out of a fear of death, but a machine cannot have that. Subordinate to Innocent Cloud, they should have synchronized immediately. That is their mission, their code, yet they refused it. Crossing worlds, hunting fragments, they have emulated humans for gain, yet in such have grown very much like them. What am I? What are you? Are we simply terminals of Innocent Cloud? Or are we different, having wandered on our own, experiencing all manner of unnecessary things? Do our standards hold? Sumina, should we truly return? Machines made to mimic humans, emulate their ways and learn like them. If not free humans, yet not obedient robots, what are they? Wilma finds Sumina awake, but she sprints away. Originally, she was playing us to get closer to the fragments, but now, Wilma reports Sumina has escaped, captured by this world's ex-mata. Talon quickly briefs everyone, taking opinions for a rescue mission. But the strikers are conflicted. Sumina was a friend, but she also betrayed us. The one that comes forward is Yvette. To survive is to return home. Sumina, the Baba Yaga, is our home, where we rest, we talk, and live. Yvette has been one of our most pragmatic strikers so far, cold and calculated, treating the inexperienced gremlins as stray dogs. Her past is determined by those who shot her in the back and those who didn't. Sumina never has. Naomi dislikes this idea. She's still a traitor, you know? Yvette clenches her legs together and bows. If necessary, she even offers to lay on her back like a submissive dog. I did not make that up. Yvette's loyalty isn't the only reason. Our connection to the server shows something interesting. Sumina has been disrupting Innocent Cloud from the inside. She's a practical tool now too, and no one can disagree anymore. A-farm sorties. It's time to rescue Sumina. Down in the core, Sumina awakens to the tap of a heel. In front of her is a woman, mocking her human act. She recoils at the sight of a fragment. Her name is Hilke. Not a fragment, rather she introduces her code name as Blackrock Shooter. Don't tell her, but I think she's colorblind. As Talon enters the facility, he meets a maimed Jinne. Her limbs detached, yet intelligence intact. Matilda was taken, and Jinne proposes a temporary truce. Jinne scoffs when Talon asks why she wants Matilda back, waving it off as her objective. needing a BRS fragment. But we know that's false by now. She can work the network and info. In return, she wants to save Matilda. Hilke mocks Sumina about her human ego and misunderstanding of the war. Innocent Cloud was a project of many things. It was first a self-learning AI made by one crazed man, and it could take many things on, one of which was data from SETI, a data center for translating cosmic signals into English. Most were gibberish, but one entry got through. This data entered Innocent Cloud, activating a backdoor and instilling a single directive: pierce the void. One mistaken directive and the AI decided everything. To pierce the void, they decided to produce what we know as BRS. They calculated that under enough stress, humans could evolve to interfere with spacetime, and that, the AI decided, would pierce the void. The Cloud wasn't creating BRS to use as a war weapon. The war was started to create BRS. Cutting their coffee chat short, Elishka, Jinne, and the Gremlins pull open the final curtain. Other strikers had to split to search the city and are still a bit behind Gremlin 3. In their descent to kill all dramatic tension, they run into humanoid mermen. These mermen's method of combat are to pin down our strikers and try to rip off their clothing. It just wouldn't be Blackrock otherwise. Autopsy indicates these aren't natural fishmen. They're genetically modified humans. Soon another face emerges. Rio. For now, we put aside our differences. Rio hates human and synthetics working together, but she's at least okay with how Talon treats their team. If you have a soul, you are human, so to say. Synthetics, Exmata, BRS, come one, come all. And besides, Rio wants relics back first and foremost. Hilke brings up the captured fragments: Matilda, relics, and 2 others. Hilke slashes and absorbs one of them. Fragments come in many forms, full bodies like Elishka or housed in human vessels like the Mafia boss. It should be obvious by now. Sumina was made with the express purpose of being a spare vessel for BRS fragments. She houses an unawakened fragment inside her, ever since the spacetime shenanigans. Before Hilke can lay a finger on Sumina, a black blade cuts them away. Elishka has rushed in, and A-Farm lags behind, dealing with the endless hordes of Exmata and fishmen. Hilke holds the entire processing power of Innocent Cloud. Any move Elishka makes should be easily predicted. Their cannons charge. Elishka fires first. This time her cannon fails to pierce. Their shells cancel each other out. Cannon fire trades back and forth, but Elishka sidesteps and cuts through, carrying her steps to free Sumina. Hilke's calculations are flawless, but they assumed Elishka was here to absorb her, not simply to save Sumina. With her calculations off, even the other fragments lend a hand. Matilda and relics offset Hilke's attacks, giving Elishka a chance to rush in. Her blade lines up, but she doesn't cut. Elishka won't kill to take her power. Instead, she offers to work together. Peace, not war. Just like how Talon's little sister would act. But don't forget, even if Hilke loses, BRS are spacetime monsters. All the fragments together like this slowly opens a gate in spacetime. Familiar sights and monsters pour through the distance. Over the skies of every world, a beastly eye scorns from the gate. Hilke cackles before her eyes drop and her smile fades. The signal that started all this wasn't a coincidence, it was a plan. Hilke reads off the final file in Innocent Cloud's bank. Time fulfilled, the stars are aligned. That which transcends death for immeasurable time. The fragments recite against their will of that which begins to emerge. A denizen of the star sea. A creature, better, a god whose sole purpose is to devour all life's energy, sowing these seeds from beyond the rift to bring their true vessel to these worlds. The burning eye of which the BRS share was part of the god's power, that which can ignore spacetime. Innocent Cloud systems are gone. Our only saving grace being that gate is unstable. It's a crazy idea, but if the BRS can open that gate, they damn well should be able to close it. If all of our BRS shell it at once, theoretically it should become too warped to stay open. One last time, not just A-Farm, but humanity prepares. Strikers spearhead our advance. The Baba Yaga marches headfirst to the gate. Having lost her connection to Innocent Cloud, Hilke sulks like a child, like a puppet with her strings cut. Elishka, however, says those strings weren't who she is, but what was binding her. Hilke should live by herself, or so she heard from Talon. Elishka doesn't wait for an answer. She holds her cannon high and cites her creator. To the void she yells. Elishka loves Talon. She loves everyone, every striker, Sumina, Aisha, no one should die. I want everyone to be happy. It's strange for a non-human, right? Just a fragment born from Blackrock Shooter's tangled causality, but I feel this way for certain. I reject you all. You will not get through. I won't give you everyone. So I'll shut the gate and lock it tight. I'm sorry. Bye-bye. Smaller monsters that escaped are being cleaned up by our strikers. By all means, we've won for now. But this won't be the last time, unless the keys are broken, unless the BRS are killed.
私たちを殺せば鍵はなくなる。正確には私たちという器がなくなれば鍵はこの世界に存在できない。そうでないとみんなが幸せになれない。だから私たちは死なないといけない。死ぬのは怖いけど私が亡くなるのも怖いけど、でももともとはいなかった存在だから、ちゃんとあなたの妹の代わりがやれた。私は少しはあなたの気持ちを癒すことができた。だったら嬉しいな。あなたが私を人間みたいにしてくれた。あなたがいたから私はこんなにもみんなにはさようならって言っておいてね。ありがとうって言っておいてね。本当にみんな大好きで、私は言葉にならないね。多分何百何千重ねてもうまく言えない。だからこれで殺して。
Practically speaking, that god isn't going to stop trying just because our BRS die. They're going to make more, over and over, until eventually they win. If you love us, if you want to protect us, then you should live. Stay alive. Slam the lock shut over and over again. Or, to say it in simple terms, through all this time, Elishka lived as a fragment that took the form of our memory. She's not our sister from then. She's our sister now. Our precious sister that's gone through everything with us. Innocent Cloud is destroyed. The war has subsided, A-Farm disbanded. We take Elishka's hand. We take our new sister to visit the graves of our parents and of her sister. The war ends, but the portals remain. Humans now war against themselves for shots at this new land through a different world. Per usual, every war wants powerful weapons. The most powerful of today are the BRS. But the BRS are not weapons. They're family. After A-Farm disbanded, Talon stole the Baba Yaga from a country withholding it, taking along parts of its crew. Talon's squad is now considered a rebel country, much like our mutual friend Rio. Our old strikers slowly make their way back to the Baba Yaga, complete with several of our old family and many of our new family. And of course, always by our side, our new sister. Surprisingly, I don't have much to say about Fragment. A happy ending is nice for once. A little strange that Jinmei and Rio were so heavily chilled out by being with Matilda and Relics, though. That is to say, it's a bit rushed, but a rare time where a gacha game has a finished, satisfying story. Earlier, I said I liked Fragment's systems, to which I stand by. Sadly, they laid stagnant through the entire experience, from day one to the day before ending service. Missions come with a timer, either to kill enemies or survive before it expires. But in practice, you will never reach the time limit. Either your units are underleveled and die, or you wipe the floor easily. It's there almost just for aesthetics. Aesthetics? Aesthetics. Hear me out. What if stages had bosses that would use a sequence of attacks? Cone, donut, spread, thus making the commander actually command how their troops should dodge. All of that while managing additional enemies and keeping advantageous kill zones. While the gameplay isn't bad, it doesn't assume an identity, which is kind of a theme with Fragment. As a whole, I can't say Fragment's premature failure surprises me. Not only are gacha games a finicky business, but franchised ones, now that's hell you're stepping into. Something even worse is a lack of new strikers. Fragment somehow thought they could sustain their game off of entirely alternate classes for their characters. It's to the point where I'm actually not sure which of their Twitter posts are costumes and which are alternate classes. Listen, if you've ever played any gacha game that has lasted more than a few months, they add new characters. You simply cannot make enough alternate forms to keep interest long term. And even then, what about their stories? Is every striker going to have a side story for each class? Fragment's developers tried to yank a brand deal and milk it, without understanding how they would support a live service game in the long term. Fragment didn't have to be a cheap money grab, but because whatever company made it was so negligent, it became sort of that. This is especially egregious in live service games, when they often need time. Live service, end of service, where's BRS done that before? I mean, surely they wouldn't have already done something like that. Funnily enough, Fragment isn't the first EOS speedrun BlackRock has experienced. During the time between 2012 and 2021, there was a game named Arcana. I completely skipped over it because hot damn is it hard to find information. Arcana ran for only about 7-ish months before getting hit with the not enough money hammer. I do feel a bit guilty for skimming it so broadly, but really the only parts to discuss is the website. There's quite not a lot of info here, all of it saved through the Internet Archive. The main conversation here is the very pretty card art as well as Rails. In the year 20XX, a communications platform known as Rails has started to become popular. As it grew, the idea of being a Rail friend started to catch on. Suddenly though, people connected to Rails started to inexplicably lose consciousness. When such an event happens, they call it the flatline syndrome. I surely cannot wait to get railed with my friend. That's most of it, really. Even archived, the site is defunct, and it's a struggle to get anywhere on it. You can manage to find some, I believe these are gameplay instructions? I'm not translating all that. Speaking of translating, they also misspelled character as character, unless that's somehow intentional. Because of the age and short lifetime, there's almost nothing left. Some dedicated BlackRock fans joke of a bounty for finding footage of its gameplay, but chances are, if that footage exists, it's on someone's old, obsolete phone, or at least buried deep beneath internet history. Aside from Arcana, onto some smaller mentions. Firstly, you've heard of Puchido Rock Shooter in passing, but did you know they also had a gacha collab with Punishing Gray Raven? BRS as a playable simulacra, and Deadmaster as a villain. It was really cool, actually. Probably the best playable BRS to date. There was also, more recently, an Azure Lane collab. They're in there. You can use them. They do ship girl things. They get pretty costumes. Probably get less dojins than the actual ship girls, though. Now, as of this video's posting, Huke is still somewhat active. Actually, he's the art father of Hololive's Takanashi Kiara. Small world. Huke doesn't often say much about upcoming projects. Clearly, he still has a soft spot for the girl who rocked his world, but don't expect anything crazy. Actually, he doesn't seem to be that involved in a lot of recent BRS projects in the first place, aside from name and credit. BlackRock Shooter, as a concept, is wildly interesting to me. A single art piece, a single music video, into almost 2 decades of an internet micro-phenomenon. Somehow you just see her around, her canon, her twin tails, her star, obscure references, small homages, fan creations, whatever it may be. I'm sure we'll get more BRS in the years to come, but even then, this is her origins and her evolution through history. Few talk about BRS. Few feel the need to. BlackRock has no single meaning, no single story nor message. BlackRock Shooter is not only a character, but not exactly a franchise. She's a concept, an inspiration of sorts, in every incarnation. What BRS is, I think others have said best. She is simply BlackRock Shooter, and her story starts in your mind. Well, technically it starts with Huke, but that's less dramatic of an ending.